Chapter 165. How long would it take for a 5-star mystic martial warrior to break through to Great Mystic Martial Master in the Five Elements Hall? Yang Dingtian asked. This question is within my authority and can be answered. The stone giant said, for those with high talent, 2 years. For those with extreme talent, 1.5 years. 1.5 years. 2 or 3 years. Yang Dingtian couldn't wait that long. Then what kind of talent would I have? Yang Dingtian asked. The stone giant opened his palm and gently placed it on Yang Dingtian's head, then answered, above the extreme. Then with my talent, how long would it take for me to break through to Great Mystic Martial Master? Yang Dingtian hurriedly asked. The stone giant calculated for a moment, then said, 1 year. 1 year at the fastest? Yang Dingtian said. Yes. The stone giant said, this is the theoretical speed of an extreme mystic vein practitioner. 1 year was too long. Yang Dingtian definitely didn't have that much time. Can it be faster? Yang Dingtian asked. Under normal mode, no. The stone giant said. Then what about under abnormal mode? Yang Dingtian was delighted and hurriedly asked, also, what is abnormal mode? Abnormal mode is death mode. It's completely similar to actual combat. The practitioner will be injured and die. The stone giant said. If that's the case, how long would it take for me to break through to Great Mystic Martial Master? Yang Dingtian asked. For those with extreme talent, if they don't die, it would take half a year. The stone giant said. Half a year. Although it would still make Yang Dingtian's time very tight, he still had half a year to find the third stage of the pig-slaying sword art and find the heaven and earth mystic flame. There was still a sliver of hope. Then I'll immediately enter abnormal mode. Yang Dingtian said. Are you sure? The stone giant said, serious warning, if you enter abnormal mode into actual combat, your opponent will definitely not be merciful. You might be injured or die. I'm sure. Yang Dingtian said. Please select the difficulty level of abnormal mode. Normal, medium, extreme, and extreme. The stone giant said, if the difficulty level increases by 1 level, the cultivation speed will increase by 5%, but the probability of death will increase by 10%. In the abnormal mode of normal difficulty, he could break through to Great Mystic Martial Master in half a year. According to this calculation, if he chose the extreme difficulty, he might be able to break through to the Great Mystic Martial Master realm in around 5 months. What's the probability of dying in normal difficulty? Yang Dingtian asked. 45%. The stone giant said. Immediately, Yang Dingtian sucked in a deep breath of cold air. If he chose the extreme difficulty, he might be able to break through to Great Mystic Martial Master in a little over 5 months, but the probability of death would rise to a shocking 75%. By the way, what level of cultivation do I need to reach before I can leave the mystery realm of the Five Elements Palace? Yang Dingtian suddenly thought of the most important question. You have to be at least a 3-star Great Mystic Martial Master before you can leave the 6th Metal Elemental secret room without any burden. The stone giant said. Yang Dingtian was astonished. It turned out that breaking through to the Great Mystic Martial Master level wasn't enough. He needed to break through to the 3-star Great Mystic Martial Master level. In that case, it would take even more time. Please choose the trial difficulty. The stone giant reminded again. Yang Dingtian fiercely clenched his teeth and said, extreme difficulty. The stone giant said mechanically, extreme difficulty, your cultivation speed will increase by 15%. Your probability of death will increase by 30%, reaching 75%. Do you still insist on this choice? I insist on this choice. Yang Dingtian said. Suddenly, a ray of light flashed and the stone giant slowly said, the mystery realm of the Five Elements Palace has increased the trial difficulty to extreme difficulty. Immediately, Yang Dingtian felt a chill run down his spine. It was as if a murderous aura surged from all around him. The so-called combat mode was completely different from the original. Previously, Yang Dingtian was practicing his sword alone. Now, he had an opponent. Moreover, it was a powerful and merciless opponent. When he arrived at the entrance of the first secret room, Yang Dingtian suddenly felt a little nervous. He didn't know what kind of opponent he would be facing. Taking a deep breath and calming his nervous emotions, Yang Dingtian gently pushed open the door of the first metal elemental secret room. Inside, there was an enormous room with 3 times the gravity. It was completely empty. What's going on? Yang Dingtian said in surprise. Yang Dingtian took a step forward and stepped into the first secret room. Suddenly, a ray of light flashed. A stone giant suddenly burst out from the wall and walked down. This was a smaller stone giant. It was about 2 meters tall, but it only had one head. It held a hammer in its hand. "There's an intruder, kill the intruder," the stone giant shouted. Then, it waved its hammer and rushed over. Yang Dingtian was shocked. It started just like that. Moreover, looking at how agile this stone giant was, it didn't seem to be affected by the gravity at all. Whoosh! The hammer fiercely smashed over. From the strong wind, Yang Dingtian could feel that this stone giant's level was about the same as his. It was about a 6-star Xian martial warrior. However, at this time, Yang Dingtian was dragged down by the 3 times gravity, while the stone giant was completely unaffected. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. In the blink of an eye, the stone giant had already smashed over a dozen times. Every move was fatal. It really didn't hold back. Yang Dingtian quickly retreated. Now, he had to avoid the stone giant's attack first. However, it was 3 times the gravity here, so Yang Dingtian's retreating speed was 3 times slower than normal. He couldn't avoid it at all. In the blink of an eye, the hammer had already arrived in front of him. Ah! Yang Dingtian quickly raised the youngling sword and blocked the stone giant's hammer. Bang! A huge force hit, and Yang Dingtian's body flew out more than 10 meters. Puff! A mouthful of blood spurted out. His entire right arm was completely numb after the sharp pain. It was as if there was no feeling at all. The skin above had countless cracks. Damn this secret room. Although the stone giant in front of him was the same as Yang Dingtian, its strength was about a 6-star Xian martial warrior. But the hammer it smashed out was 3 times the strength. This was too deceptive. Yang Dingtian's burden was 3 times heavier, his speed was 3 times slower, and the power of his sword was greatly reduced. Not only was the stone giant not affected by the 3 times gravity, but its strength was also increased by 3 times. No wonder it was an extreme difficulty. This was too extreme. So, caught off guard, Yang Dingtian was injured and vomited blood at the beginning. Before Yang Dingtian could wipe off the blood, the stone man rushed up again, and the hammer in his hand became even more ferocious. Yang Dingtian had 2 choices at this time. The first choice was to continue to avoid its sharp killing move. The second choice was to fight with it. A rational person would choose the first one. However, Yang Dingtian chose the second one. Ah! Yang Dingtian roared, and suddenly mobilized all the profound qi in his body. He stood on the ground like a root. Because here was 3 times the gravity, dodging itself had a huge disadvantage. His speed was already 3 times slower, how could he dodge? Looking at the stone giant's hammer, Yang Dingtian held the sword with both hands, aimed at the terrible hammer, and slashed with all his strength. Invincible, dang! A loud sound rang out, and sparks flew everywhere. Yang Dingtian suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood, his body trembled, and he retreated a few steps. The stone giant did not know fatigue, and the hammer was still crazily smashing. Dang 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 dang! Yang Dingtian used all the strength in his body to block the stone giant's hammer. Every move was the invincible sword. After 30 swords, Yang Dingtian's body was already dripping with blood. He retreated dozens of meters, and the muscles in his hands were almost all split open. The profound qi was completely exhausted at this time. It was too shocking. Previously, when he practiced alone, Yang Dingtian used a full 4 days to exhaust the profound qi in his body. And under the extreme combat mode, in just 30 swords, all of Yang Dingtian's profound qi had been exhausted. Kill the intruder. The stone giant shouted, holding the hammer with both hands, and with the greatest strength, it suddenly smashed down on Yang Dingtian's head. Invincible. Yang Dingtian used the last trace of profound qi, holding the sword with both hands to block. Dang! In an instant, an incomparably powerful force drilled into Yang Dingtian's body, crazily tearing Yang Dingtian's profound veins and his internal organs. In the blink of an eye, Yang Dingtian was about to be fatally injured. And at this moment, a profound qi suddenly gushed out from the young sword to resist the stone giant's power, helping Yang Dingtian to block the fatal injury, even though it was only for a moment. And taking advantage of this moment, Yang Dingtian quickly retreated, directly leaving the first secret room, and returned to the Five Elements Hall's hall. It was finally safe. As long as he left the range of the secret room, the stone giant would not chase after him. Yang Dingtian came to the center of the hall where the profound qi was the densest. He quickly sat down cross-legged to adjust his breathing, and then took out a medicinal pill from the spatial ring and swallowed it. Ningning's medicinal pill was very powerful. Originally, Yang Dingtian felt that his whole body had already split open, and was in incomparable pain. But after taking the medicinal pill, it was as if a warm power gradually spread throughout his body, and that feeling of pain gradually disappeared. After recovering a little, Yang Dingtian immediately hugged the 300-pound young sword in his arms, and looked at it in disbelief. It was just a young sword, and it did not have any profound vein essence, nor did it have any sea spirit crystal. So in theory, it could not store profound qi. But in that moment, it actually helped Yang Dingtian block the stone giant's fatal attack, and it was only for a moment. This was really too magical. It was just a young sword, but it actually helped its master, and saved its master. Even though Yang Dingtian had previously sensed that there was a chaotic divine sense hidden within this youngling sword, he still treated it as a sword. But at this moment, there was a feeling of blood connection. Perhaps it was really not just a sword. Every sword spirit was a life raised by its master. But, when this life grew up, it would become incomparably powerful. And the young sword was no doubt like an embryo in the stomach. It had not been born yet, but it was already a life. You're so ugly, I'll call you Ah Cho from now on, okay? Yang Dingtian said. The chaotic divine stone inside this ugly young sword seemed to be restless, but Yang Dingtian did not know if it was happy or against this name. No matter if you like it or not, you'll be called Ah Cho from now on. Wait until the day you truly become a soul sword, then it will be your nirvana. Yang Dingtian said. Then, he hugged Ah Cho's young sword, and began to absorb profound qi. Now, he was already familiar with the process. Incomparably dense profound qi once again crazily poured into Yang Dingtian's profound veins. After filling up all the profound veins in his body, it converged in his sea of qi. The already dried up sea of qi greedily devoured the pure profound qi. Continuously devouring, an hour later, his sea of qi suddenly trembled, and slightly exploded. With a small breakthrough, he directly broke through 6-star middle-level Xian martial warrior, and became a 6-star upper-level Xian martial warrior. His breathing and absorbing profound qi continued. 3 hours later. His profound qi was restless again, and his entire sea of qi suddenly expanded, boom. A white light flashed in his sea of qi. Yang Dingtian's consciousness instantly went blank, and his profound veins also went blank. Everything in his body entered a temporary standstill. After a full half a minute, everything started to return to normal. Yang Dingtian gradually regained his consciousness, his sea of qi started to surge again, and his profound veins started to flow again. He actually broke through again. Yang Dingtian felt all this in disbelief. He actually directly broke through 7-star Xian martial warrior. Previously, he only broke through half a star after 7 or 8 days. And after entering the extreme difficulty of the actual combat trial, he actually broke through the remaining half a star in less than half an hour, allowing Yang Dingtian to directly enter 7-star Xian martial warrior. This secret realm was really full of bizarre things. After the surprise, Yang Dingtian continued to absorb profound qi. At this time, his profound veins and sea of qi once again entered a state of emptiness, and crazily absorbed profound qi again. This time, after a full 4 hours, his profound veins and sea of qi were completely filled with profound qi, and his entire body once again recovered surging energy. However, after his sea of qi had reached its limit, it only trembled slightly, and did not expand again, nor did it break through again. However, Yang Dingtian was already very satisfied. Standing up from the ground, Yang Dingtian tightly grasped the youngling sword in his hand and said, "We're going to fight again. This time, I want to see if that stone man can still beat us into such a sorry state, and almost kill us under his hammer." At this time, nearly 10 hours had passed since Yang Dingtian was beaten half to death by the stone man. Yang Dingtian carried the 300-pound youngling sword, retreated from the door, and once again entered the first gold series door. Intruder, kill without mercy. After a shout, the stone man suddenly split open from the wall, jumped down, and then ferociously rushed towards Yang Dingtian. That huge hammer swung over like a bolt of lightning. Yang Dingtian suddenly raised the heavy sword in his hand, and met the stone man's huge hammer head-on. He discovered that this 1,000-pound youngling sword was actually a lot lighter in his hand. Clang! A loud sound resounded, the heavy sword and the huge hammer fiercely collided, and immediately sparks flew in all directions. Yang Dingtian's body shook, and his arm went numb. But that was all. Previously, Yang Dingtian was directly sent flying, and blood was violently spurting out. And now, it was merely a shock. And that stone man also shook fiercely, and slightly staggered for a while. In this short confrontation, Yang Dingtian actually gained the upper hand. He was immediately pleasantly surprised. After breaking through to 7-star Xian martial warrior, his power was indeed extraordinary. Immediately after, without any hesitation, the heavy sword in his hand continued to fiercely chop down. Invincible, invincible, invincible. From beginning to end, Yang Dingtian only used this move, and crazily chopped at the stone man. His power was getting stronger and stronger, and his momentum was getting fiercer and fiercer. Finally, this stone man couldn't resist Yang Dingtian's momentum and began to retreat. Break! Yang Dingtian suddenly roared, using all his power, aimed at the stone man's huge hammer, and fiercely chopped it down. Bang! Suddenly, that huge hammer made of an unknown material suddenly shattered. Pig-killing swordsmanship. Chopping off the limbs. Yang Dingtian's sword was like lightning, and directly cut off the stone man's legs and feet. Bang! The stone man whose limbs were broken suddenly smashed to the ground. Pig-killing swordsmanship, chopping off the head. Yang Dingtian chopped down with his sword, and suddenly the stone man's incomparably hard head flew out dozens of meters away. Walala! At the same time, the stone man's body suddenly shattered into powder, and a gust of wind blew. The stone man's powder, as well as the weapon's powder, was blown away cleanly, and disappeared without a trace. Breaking through to 7-star Xian martial warrior was indeed powerful. Yang Dingtian directly turned defeat into victory, and directly eliminated this stone man. There was no doubt that the first secret room trial of the metal room was over. After smashing the stone giant, Yang Dingtian still had more than half of his profound qi left in his body. Taking a deep breath, Yang Dingtian slowly retreated to the second door. The second door, 9 times the gravity. He didn't know what kind of powerful boss would be inside. Chapter 166. Yang Dingtian had finally gotten used to the first secret room. Now, on the basis of the first secret room, Yang Dingtian's strength and speed had been weakened by 3 times. Therefore, compared to the first secret room, Yang Dingtian's strength had been weakened by at least 5 times. Then, it all depended on how powerful the second secret room's interloper was. Yang Dingtian suppressed his nervousness, took a deep breath, and stepped into the second secret room. Huff. Suddenly, Yang Dingtian felt a pain in his chest. Even breathing was painful. The youngling sword in his hand weighed at least 3,000 pounds. Whoosh! From the wall, a silver metal man suddenly split open. He held a giant sword in his hand and shot out from the wall, rushing towards Yang Dingtian like a bolt of lightning. Intruder, die! With a sharp roar, the silver metal man's huge sword slashed toward Yang Dingtian. Indestructible. Yang Dingtian raised the youngling sword in his hand and blocked the metal man's attack with both hands. Bang! There was a loud noise. Pfft! Yang Dingtian spat out a mouthful of blood. His whole body flew 100 meters away like a straw. The muscles in his arms and chest were torn apart inch by inch. Even the Xian meridians in his whole body had countless cracks. Yang Dingtian's body flew out of the second secret room, flew through the first secret room, and directly fell into the hall of the 5 Elements Hall. His life was uncertain, and his body was badly mutilated. Just once. Yang Dingtian was killed by a level 2 metal boss in an instant. At this time, Yang Dingtian had completely fainted. If he was conscious, he would definitely be amazed. He had imagined that the second secret room's interloper would be very powerful, but he did not expect it to be so powerful. It was like a thunderbolt that killed him in an instant. The 100-meter-tall giant in the center of the hall slowly opened its eyes and grabbed Yang Dingtian, whose life was uncertain. The trial taker has been injured for the second time. Assessing the trial taker's life force. Trial takers are still alive. There is value in saving them. Then, the 3-headed giant opened up the stone slab on its chest, revealing the green pool once again. It picked up Yang Dingtian and placed him in the pool. This time, Yang Dingtian only had to recuperate in the pool for 5 hours before his injuries were fully recovered. Even though his injuries looked frightening, they were much weaker than Dugu Fengwu's shocking attack. Therefore, he only needed 5 hours to recuperate in the green pond. Thank you, big giant. Yang Dingtian said to the 3-headed giant after being placed on the ground again. The 3-headed giant did not answer him. Instead, it closed its eyes again and returned to its original posture. It remained motionless like a statue. Yang Dingtian hugged Da Chao's youngling sword and once again came to the center of the main hall, and once again entered the mystical energy absorption. The profound energy was still as dense and pure as ever, and it continued to flow into his body. 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 5 hours later, Yang Dingtian's sea of energy trembled violently. He had another small breakthrough and directly became a mid-grade 7-star mystic martial warrior. Carrying Ah Chao's youngling sword, Yang Dingtian once again stepped into the metal elemental secret training room. He knew that there was a tiger in the mountain, but he still walked towards it. Just now, Yang Dingtian was killed in an instant. This time, Yang Dingtian went to challenge the second metal elemental secret training room. After passing through the first secret training room, he came to the second door and pushed it open. Yang Dingtian did not immediately take a step forward. The shocking attack from the silver metal man had left a lingering fear in Yang Dingtian's heart. It was an instant kill. He circulated all the profound energy in his body and condensed it on Ah Chao's youngling sword. I am ready. Yang Dingtian thought to himself. Then, he gripped the heavy sword in his hand tightly and walked in. Whoosh! The silver metal man was like a bolt of lightning as it charged towards Yang Dingtian. The huge sword in its hand was as heavy as a mountain as it slashed towards Yang Dingtian's head. Just in time. Yang Dingtian roared. He held A Chao's huge sword with both hands and used all his strength to block the attack. Bang! A loud sound was heard. Puff! Yang Dingtian spat out blood. He was sent flying hundreds of meters away like a straw. He flew out of 2 secret training rooms and crashed into the main hall of the Five Elements Palace. However, he was slightly better this time. He did not pass out completely. However, this was even more painful. Yang Dingtian could clearly feel the pain of his entire body being torn apart. The three-headed giant opened its eyes again. The participant is injured for the 3rd time. The participant's vital energy is normal. He can be saved. Then, Yang Dingtian was placed into the green pool on the three-headed giant's chest again. This time, Yang Dingtian only needed to soak in the green pool for 2 hours before his injuries were mostly healed. After being placed back on the ground by the three-headed giant, Yang Dingtian went to the center of the main hall again. He held A Chao's youngling sword and breathed in and out. Actually, more than half of the celestial qi in his body had not been used up. However, he wanted to see if there would be a breakthrough in his celestial qi. However, the result disappointed Yang Dingtian. After only an hour, Yang Dingtian's energy reserve had reached its limit. There was no breakthrough at all. In other words, if he went to the 2nd secret training room and encountered the silver metal man, he would still be killed instantly. There would be no change. After all, Yang Dingtian had used up all his strength to block the attack just now. There was no way he could increase his strength any further. Yang Dingtian did not enter the 2nd secret training room. He was not afraid of failure. He also did not lack the perseverance to continue to fight even after repeated failures. However, he would not do anything for nothing. The result of entering the 2nd secret training room was still to be killed instantly. Then, he would have to enter the green pool to recuperate. Yang Dingtian could endure the pain of his body being torn apart inch by inch. However, it was meaningless. His celestial qi would not have any breakthrough. It would only be a waste of time. He had to make a change. If this continued, it would only be a waste of time. Yang Dingtian held A Chao's youngling sword and walked around the hall slowly. His gaze fell on the doors of the other colors. Yang Dingtian suddenly slapped his head. "Oh my god, I'm so stupid," Yang Dingtian said in confusion. He could have gone to the 1st secret training room of the other elements. Why did he have to go against the metal element? There were still the fire element, ice element, lightning element, and wind element left. Although these secret training rooms would not be easy to pass, no matter how powerful the 1st secret training room was, it would still be better than the 2nd secret training room of the metal element. He would not be killed instantly, right? He would also have a breakthrough in the other elements' secret training rooms. When he had broken through to a certain level, he would go back and kill that ridiculously powerful metal man. After deciding on his plan, the next step was to choose a secret training room of the element to train in. There was no doubt that the lightning element was the strangest and scariest. However, in a real battle, the lightning element was also the least practical. Because it was basically impossible to meet a lightning element opponent. In this world, lightning element demonic beasts were extremely rare. And lightning element experts were even rarer. It was completely impossible to meet one. The world's Xian veins were divided into yin and yang. There was no third type. Everyone's Xian veins were either yin or yang. After yin and yang, there were 5 elements. Fire, wind, metal, ice, lightning. Fire element directly targeted the yang Xian veins. Ice element directly targeted the yin Xian veins. The remaining wind and metal elements were very complicated. Basically, a person with yang Xian veins could derive the metal element. A person with yin Xian veins could derive the wind element. However, this was not absolute. There were very few exceptions. As for the lightning element, it was extremely mysterious and rare. There was no pattern at all. Just as rare as the lightning element, there was also the darkness and mental element. No matter if it was the lightning element, darkness element, or mental element, it was 1 in a billion. Shimen Ningning belonged to the mental element. Previously, outside the abandoned mine, she directly used the mental element mystic skill to imprison 4 powerful enemies. At that time, young Ding Tian was only surprised. He didn't feel that it was that heaven-defying. At this moment, he was completely aware of how mysterious and terrifying Shimen Ningning's mental element mystic skill was and how rare it was. Therefore, Shimen Ningning was definitely not as simple as Shimen Wuya's adopted daughter. The secret behind her was enough to shock the world. Her true identity might also shock everyone. Back to the main topic. Young Ding Tian had to choose an element as his second cultivation room. Ice element, Yang Ding Tian had the most advantage. Because he had the 9 Yang Xian veins, but perhaps because of this advantage, it was not easy for him to have a big breakthrough. Fire element, Yang Ding Tian had the least advantage. Lightning element, too strange. In actual combat, it was not very useful. Therefore, Yang Ding Tian chose the wind element, hoping that the wind element trial would surprise him. Arriving in front of the door of the wind training room, the wind element door seemed to be a faint gray, but also seemed to be colorless. He gently pushed open the wind element door and walked into the first secret room of the wind element. Even though this was only the first secret room of the wind element, Yang Ding Tian was still very careful. After all, this was the mysterious and powerful 5 Elements Hall secret realm. But after walking in, Yang Ding Tian was surprised to find that there was no warning, and no stone man jumped down from the stone wall to kill him. The surroundings were still quiet and there was no change. Yang Ding Tian opened his eyes wide, waiting for the fatal killing intent to appear. But after waiting for half a minute, there was still no reaction. What's going on? Yang Ding Tian said in shock. Whoosh 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 whoosh. Suddenly, a powerful blade crazily cut Yang Ding Tian's body. The speed was incomparably fast, so fast that Yang Ding Tian had no chance to defend. In an instant, dozens of bloody wounds appeared on Yang Ding Tian's body. Fortunately, he was wearing the deep-sea dazzling clothes, otherwise, his entire chest would have been cut open. Moreover, Yang Ding Tian still did not discover the enemy's figure, because it was completely invisible, even its weapon was invisible. Enduring the severe pain all over his body, Yang Ding Tian raised his youngling sword and fiercely slashed. However, these few slashes were completely in the air, the enemy teleported and dodged Yang Ding Tian's sword. Whoosh 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 whoosh. Several fierce slashes directly cut Yang Ding Tian's back. Yang Ding Tian did not have enough time to turn around, the youngling sword in his hand suddenly stabbed his back. Ha ha ha. A burst of strange laughter, Yang Ding Tian's sword missed again. The enemy disappeared without a trace again. In this cycle, Yang Ding Tian's body was cut at least 100 times. But he still did not stab the enemy, even his own sword did not touch the enemy. This was an invisible enemy, a wind-like enemy, whose speed was extremely fast. The only thing that was slightly better was that the lethality of his blade was not as astonishing as the metal-type secret room, otherwise, Yang Ding Tian would not be alive right now. But even so, Yang Ding Tian was completely mutilated at this time. He was completely flustered and exasperated. For a few hours, Yang Ding Tian was completely beaten, he did not even touch a corner of the enemy's clothes, he did not even see the enemy's appearance. Originally, he thought that the first secret training room would not be difficult, but he did not expect it to be so abnormally difficult. After 5 hours, except for the part protected by the deep-sea Xian clothes, Yang Ding Tian did not have an inch of good flesh on his body, every part of his body was riddled with scars. In these 5 hours, Yang Ding Tian brandished no less than 10,000 swords, but not a single sword was able to hit the enemy. Yin Yang Heaven and Earth Sword's invisible sword completely countered the wind, but still did not stab the enemy. At this time, Yang Dingtian's internal force had been completely exhausted. Full of anger and unwillingness, Yang Dingtian left the Wind-type first training room. Then, he was quickly placed in the green pool in front of the three-headed giant's chest to heal his wounds. This time, because it was only a superficial wound, Yang Dingtian's injuries were almost healed in just 2 hours. After returning to the ground, Yang Dingtian once again went to the center of the zero-gravity hall and began a new round of mysterious breathing technique. He was looking forward to whether there would be a breakthrough this time. Chapter 167. But the result disappointed him once again. There was no breakthrough in his internal force. Not even the slightest bit of breakthrough. Yang Dingtian immediately sat on the ground dejectedly. Where did he go wrong? He had already avoided the Metal-type Level 2 boss, but facing the Wind-type Level 1 boss, he was actually completely helpless, completely taking a beating. What should he do? How can he break through? Yang Dingtian racked his brains, sinking into deep pain. Ah Cho, what do you think I should do? Yang Dingtian said to the youngling sword in his arms. Ah Cho was quietly in Yang Dingtian's hands, as if it felt Yang Dingtian's pain. It also did not make a sound. Of course, Yang Dingtian could also choose other types of secret rooms to try, such as the ice-type secret room that he had the most advantage in. But just now he temporarily gave up on the Metal-type second secret room, and chose the Wind-type first secret room to try it out. It could be said to be a strategy. But if he were to change now, it would definitely be a form of cowardice. Yang Dingtian would definitely not do that. There must be a way, there must be. Even under extreme difficulty, there must be a way to break through, otherwise there would be no meaning for this secret realm to exist. Suddenly, Yang Dingtian had a flash of thought. He realized that his brain was too rigid before. He only knew that all-conquering sword corresponded to the Metal-type secret room, invisible sword corresponded to the Wind-type secret room. Actually, they could completely complement each other. For example, in the Wind-type secret room just now, Yang Dingtian's invisible sword was always one step slower than that invisible assassin, continuously stabbing out tens of thousands of times but still not stabbing the opponent once. It was very obvious that his speed was not enough. Then, where could he train his speed? Without a doubt, it was in the Metal-type secret room with high gravity. Connecting with invisible sword under high gravity, it would definitely allow him to train his sword speed even faster. Thinking of this point, Yang Dingtian suddenly jumped up from the ground, cheering. Then he directly grabbed Ah Chao's youngling sword, and once again walked towards the Metal-type first secret room. Originally Yang Dingtian walked in very easily, because the stone man inside had already been destroyed by Yang Dingtian. But the moment he stepped in, a stone man suddenly split open from the wall, waving a giant metal hammer, fiercely smashing towards Yang Dingtian. Intruder discovered, kill without mercy. It was still the same stone man as before. Yang Dingtian immediately cried out in shock. Didn't he already destroy this stone man? Why did it appear again? Could it be that after he returned from the other secret rooms, the Metal-type secret room had once again activated the trial program, causing the stone golem to appear again? Caught off guard, the stone man's hammer had already arrived in front of him. Yang Dingtian quickly raised his heavy sword and was about to execute the all-conquering sword. Because all-conquering sword is to counter this stone man, it can easily kill him. But soon, Yang Dingtian changed his mind. Since he wanted to practice the invisible sword, he might as well practice it until the end. Although invisible sword's speed is fast, but the strength of the sword is too much. Bang! Under 3 times the gravity, Yang Dingtian's invisible sword was already a lot slower, but it was still fast enough, easily blocking the stone man's hammer. With a loud sound, Yang Dingtian's body suddenly staggered back a dozen steps. He almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Facing the stone man, invisible sword's speed is indeed fast, but its power is completely insufficient. Before Yang Dingtian had time to sigh, the stone man once again waved its giant hammer and rushed forward. Invisible sword. Yang Dingtian's figure flashed, the sharp sword in his hand suddenly pierced out. Who? Yang Dingtian only felt pain on his face. The stone man's hammer directly scraped past his face, although it did not directly graze, but the wind that scraped past was still as painful as a knife. Dang! At the same time, Yang Dingtian's invisible sword quickly pierced the stone man's chest. Immediately, rocks flew everywhere. Invisible sword is invisible sword, even under 3 times the gravity, even if the treasured sword in his hand became 1,000 jin. But Yang Dingtian was still able to dodge the stone man's attack. The treasured sword in his hand could still pierce the stone man's body. For the all-conquering sword, this is completely impossible. Next, Yang Dingtian began to use invisible sword countless times. Suddenly, his movement became faster and faster, the sword moves became faster and faster. Yang Dingtian's figure was completely like a shadow, shuttling back and forth in the secret room. And that stone man was completely unable to catch up to Yang Dingtian. His hammer was completely unable to catch up to Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingtian's invisible sword stabbed him countless times. Dozens of times, hundreds of times, thousands of times. 5 hours later, this stone man was completely riddled with holes. From head to toe, not an inch of his body was intact, all the scars left behind by Yang Dingtian's invisible sword, some deep holes, and some deep slash marks. But compared to the all-conquering sword, invisible sword's lethality was simply too weak. So even after thousands of hits, the stone man was still unable to be completely destroyed. And at this moment, Yang Dingtian's profound chi was almost completely exhausted. The current him should have retreated to the center of the hall to continue the profound chi breathing, but he was somewhat unwilling. The stone man was going to be finished soon. If the last sword can't kill it, then forget it. Yang Dingtian secretly said in his heart. Then, the treasured sword in his hand turned, his figure flashed, and quickly circled around the stone man. The sword in his hand, like a poisonous snake, fiercely slashed down towards the stone man's neck. This was also invisible sword. After using invisible sword countless times, Yang Dingtian already had a completely different understanding of this move, so the sword moves were also very different from before. It was still the essence of invisible sword, but the moves were completely at his will. Huff! After using this last invisible sword, Yang Dingtian's figure rapidly retreated, and directly pushed to the door of the secret room. Because at this moment, the profound chi in his body was already completely exhausted, not even a little bit was left. Walala! After the stone man was slashed by Yang Dingtian's last invisible sword, it first stood motionless on the spot. Then, his head rolled to the ground. Bang! Then, its headless body fell to the ground, smashed into pieces, and directly turned into powder. A gust of wind blew past, blowing the powder on the ground clean. Yang Dingtian destroyed the stone man, even though he used invisible sword, but he still destroyed the stone man. And at this moment, his entire body no longer had the slightest bit of strength, even walking to the center of the 5 Elements Hall was extremely strenuous. Finally arriving at the place with the densest profound chi, Yang Dingtian sat down to regulate his breathing, hugged Ah Chao's youngling sword, and began the profound chi breathing. Endless profound chi, almost crazily, poured into Yang Dingtian's profound veins like a tide. Yang Dingtian's completely dried up profound veins were instantly moistened. It was as if countless dried up rivers were instantly filled with water. Then, this water flowed to the sea. Yang Dingtian's chi sea was also filled little by little. 6 hours later, Yang Dingtian's chi sea completely reached its limit, it was filled with the purest and most condensed profound chi. Then, his body began to stop absorbing profound chi. This meant that there was no breakthrough. Yang Dingtian couldn't help but feel disappointed in his heart. But immediately, his chi sea suddenly jumped, it began to stir, restless. Then, the profound chi that had already stopped, began to crazily pour in. even more turbulent than before, it instantly swelled the profound veins, swelled the qi si. The qi si continued to swell and expand. It swelled to the extreme. Bang! A white light flashed, Yang Dingtian broke through again. Everything stopped, even Yang Dingtian's divine sense also temporarily stopped. Yang Dingtian's profound veins and qi si entered a temporary nothingness. After a few seconds, everything gradually returned to normal. Yang Dingtian's consciousness gradually recovered, Yang Dingtian's profound veins and qi si also gradually recovered. Yang Dingtian directly skipped 7 stars, directly broke through 8 stars, and became an 8-star elementary Xian martial warrior. Yang Dingtian discovered that every time he destroyed the obstructor, his profound veins would have a huge breakthrough. Yang Dingtian used all-conquering sword and invisible sword to destroy the stone man, every time his profound qi had a huge breakthrough. Next, it was time for him to use invisible sword to go to the wind attribute secret room and kill that invisible obstructor. But this time, Yang Dingtian didn't immediately enter the secret room to train. He needed to sleep. He didn't know how many times he hadn't slept. It had been at least 10 days. It's just that before, he always treated recuperating in the green pond as sleeping time. In reality, his body and mind didn't get enough rest at that time, and the time was also relatively short. Hugging Ah Cho, Yang Dingtian slept for close to 10 hours before waking up. After waking up, Yang Dingtian felt that his whole body's spirit was unprecedentedly strong. Holding Ah Cho, Yang Dingtian once again entered the wind attribute secret room. After pushing open the door, Yang Dingtian took a deep breath and stepped in. After entering, he immediately closed his eyes, and used his whole body and mind to sense that obstructor. Swoosh! Sure enough, she came. Her blade hadn't hit Yang Dingtian yet, but a chill had already attacked in advance. Yang Dingtian quickly backhanded his sword. Clang! Yang Dingtian blocked her blade in advance. Then he suddenly rushed forward, the sharp sword in his hand quickly stabbed towards the back of that blade. Yang Dingtian's sword was already very fast, compared to the metal attribute secret room, who knows how many times faster. But it was still too late, that invisible obstructor really floated away like a gust of wind, and completely disappeared from Yang Dingtian's sense of touch. Yang Dingtian wasn't anxious, he still closed his eyes, waiting for her to attack again. Sure enough, only half a minute later, Yang Dingtian only felt a chill in his crotch. That invisible and terrifying sharp blade actually sliced towards its lower body. Yang Dingtian's sword, like lightning, fiercely stabbed towards the ground. Ah! A sharp miserable cry. On the ground, a woman's figure directly appeared. Yang Dingtian stabbed her, but at the same time, Yang Dingtian's leg was also fiercely slashed, less than an inch away from his vital point. This was a naked woman, her long hair reaching her waist. Of course, she wasn't a real woman, she was just a shadow. However, this shadow could kill and also be injured, just like a woman of pure energy. Huff! After being injured, this woman suddenly turned into a gray shadow, like a gust of wind, flew away from Yang Dingtian's body, and instantly disappeared without a trace. The entire chamber fell into silence once again as the invisible woman disappeared once again. Yang Dingtian continued to close his eyes, waiting for her to attack again. Half a minute passed. 1 minute passed. 5 minutes passed. This invisible wind woman still didn't make a move, as if competing to see who was more patient. Finally, the invisible wind woman couldn't bear it anymore. Yang Dingtian suddenly felt a chill on his neck. She attacked. This time her target was Yang Dingtian's neck. She wanted to directly give Yang Dingtian a fatal blow. Yang Dingtian had just felt the chill on his neck, and in an instant, the sharp blade would slash at Yang Dingtian's neck. The sharp sword in Yang Dingtian's hand thrust out rapidly and was about to deflect the incoming long sword. But immediately after, he felt that something was wrong, because the time from when he felt the chill to when the sharp blade slashed at him was a little too long, almost exceeding 0. 1 seconds. The invisible wind woman's speed was very fast, it was absolutely impossible for her to take so long. Then, there was only one possibility, this sly invisible wind woman was creating a diversion. And at this moment, Yang Dingtian felt a slight fluctuation of energy behind him, it was extremely faint, as if he couldn't feel it at all. Yang Dingtian completely ignored the sharp blade in front of him, and fiercely slashed with his sword. Ah! Behind him, there was an ear-piercing scream. Sure enough, this demoness used the flying blade in her hand to throw it out, and then let it fly back to Yang Dingtian's neck, pretending that she was the one who slashed at Yang Dingtian's neck. In fact, she had already circled behind Yang Dingtian, preparing to deal a fatal blow to Yang Dingtian. After Yang Dingtian felt that something was strange, he didn't hesitate and directly slashed with his sword. Sure enough, this invisible wind woman was directly pierced through. She revealed a demonic and sinister face. At this moment, her 10 sharp and terrifying nails were about to pierce into Yang Dingtian's head. After being stabbed by Yang Dingtian, she immediately turned into a gust of wind to escape. But how could Yang Dingtian give her the chance to do so? He allowed the sharp blade to slash at his back. The sword in his hand revolved and stabbed out like lightning, it was still the formless sword. But it completely surrounded the invisible wind woman. Using the formless sword, he used the fastest speed to surround the invisible wind woman, making it impossible for her to escape. Instantly, this invisible wind woman was like a ghost trapped by an array, desperately charging left and right, frantically trying to escape. Her speed was really fast, like a gust of wind, as if she could slip away from any corner at any time. Yang Dingtian's sword was also very fast, completely using up all of his mystic qi, crazily revolving around the invisible wind woman. While surrounding and circling, he was also crazily slashing at her. Formless sword, formless sword, formless sword. Hundreds of formless sword, thousands of formless sword, thousands of formless sword. Ah! The invisible wind girl suddenly let out a series of miserable shrieks. She struggled with all her might, desperately trying to escape. But after being injured, her speed became slower and slower, and she was still surrounded by Yang Dingtian's sword. Chapter 168. As Yang Dingtian slashed with his sword, the invisible wind lady's figure became fainter and fainter. In the end, she seemed to be on the verge of collapse and was about to completely disappear. At most, I have 10 more strikes to finish you. Yang Dingtian thought to himself. Whoosh 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 whoosh, almost instantaneously, Yang Dingtian stabbed 9 times consecutively. The invisible wind lady could no longer make a sound. Her figure was so faint that it was almost completely invisible. There was only 1 strike left. He could destroy this invisible wind lady, and Yang Dingtian was just about to exhaust all of his Xian Qi. But at this moment, an unforeseen event occurred. The eyes of the invisible wind lady, who was about to disappear, suddenly lit up. Her beautiful face turned sinister and ferocious. Die, die, let's perish together. The invisible wind lady said sternly. Then, she suddenly condensed into a dark ray of light. It was only a foot long, and like a malicious spirit, it suddenly drilled into Yang Dingtian's forehead. This invisible wind lady had actually chosen to perish together with Yang Dingtian. The divine melody, which was about to disappear, had completely condensed into a small ball. Therefore, its impact and lethality were extremely strong. If it drilled into his brain, the consequences would be unimaginable. Yang Dingtian instinctively wanted to use the invisible sword. But in the midst of lightning and thunder, he used up the last of his Xian Qi and slashed out with the hell-splitting sword. It was the hell-splitting sword that he had never used before. He was worried that the invisible sword would not be able to completely destroy this light. The hell-splitting sword emitted a dark and sharp light. It suddenly rotated and twisted into the light ball formed by the invisible wind lady. Suddenly, the light ball shattered. Ah! It let out a final miserable cry before exploding into countless rays of light, and then it was instantly obliterated and vanished without a trace. And at this moment, Yang Dingtian's Xian Qi had been completely used up again. He used the yin-yang heaven and earth sword again to destroy the second immortal realm cultivator of the five elements hall. Furthermore, he no longer stubbornly insisted on using a certain sword technique to kill a certain type of cultivator. Once again, Yang Dingtian dragged his exhausted body to the center of the five elements hall. Once again, he sat down to adjust his breathing and absorb Xian Qi. It was still an incomparably familiar feeling. Endless Xian Qi crazily surged into his Xian veins, nourishing Yang Dingtian's blood vessels. It made him feel as if his body was expanding. With that, countless profound energy flowed through his profound veins and into his energy sea. After the profound qi entered the qi sea, it would automatically condense. The originally large ball would condense into a small ball in the qi sea. Just like that, Xian Qi continuously condensed and condensed and condensed. After 10 hours, his energy sea of the Xian Qi of Qi had reached Xian's. Yang Dingtian's heart immediately became apprehensive. He didn't know if there would be a breakthrough this time, even if it was just a small breakthrough, and Xian's of his, to of Xian to. Everything's time. Xian Xth stage. This time, he skipped the middle 8th rank and the upper 8th rank and charged straight into the 9th rank mystic martial warrior. Xian stage was only one step away from Xian martial master. The five elements hall's secret realm was too mysterious. If your cultivation method was wrong, you might not be able to break through for a few days, even if you were seriously injured and almost died. But as long as your cultivation method was correct, everything would be fine. The final result would be far beyond your imagination. Yang Dingtian did not enter the second secret room of the wind element. He knew that he would be courting death. He didn't enter the second metal element room to cultivate. Currently, the metal man in the second metal element room might not be able to instantly kill Yang Dingtian, but there was still a huge disparity in their combat strength. It would be a waste of time to enter the second metal element room. Yang Dingtian decided to change to the secret rooms of other elements. He chose the fire element. He pushed open the door of the fire element's first secret room. He did not know what the cultivator in the fire element's secret room would be. Yang Dingtian took a deep breath and took a step forward. In an instant, the terrifying high temperature was about to push Yang Dingtian out. The entire secret room was covered in a fiery red color. It was as if every inch of the room was burned red. Yang Dingtian hurriedly circulated his mystic qi to protect his body from the high temperature, which was over 100 degrees Celsius. Whoosh! Suddenly, a monster burst out of the wall. Its body was pitch black, but it was burning with raging flames. It was like a human, standing straight, but its feet were hooves. However, its hands were like a human's. It had a face that looked like a human and a bat, and two horns on its head. This was a fiery yiksha. Yang Dingtian knew this kind of monster. It was one of the many monsters that looked like humans. It was also the most vicious and cunning of them all. Human, welcome. Your heart must be very delicious. I will taste it later. The yiksha swung its weapon and sneered at Yang Dingtian. His weapon was a whip. It was as flexible and vicious as a poisonous tongue. It was dozens of meters long and could reach every corner of the secret room. When the yiksha was dozens of meters away from Yang Dingtian, the flame snake whip in its hands suddenly lashed out. The long whip was like a part of its body, incomparably flexible. When the flame whip reached the top of Yang Dingtian's head, it burned fiercely and then quickly circled. Suddenly, the top of Yang Dingtian's head was filled with green demon fire. The temperature of the entire secret room instantly increased by countless times. Burning Heaven Sword. Yang Dingtian swung the heavy sword in his hand, and a red flame burst out. Then, the sword in his hand also quickly circled. Suddenly, a red flame wrapped Yang Dingtian's body, resisting the yiksha's green demon fire. The Yiksha's whip suddenly pressed down, and the green demon fire vortex also pressed down. It was filled with a strong devouring power, and wanted to directly swallow Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingtian quickly brandished his huge sword, and used the burning heaven sword again and again. Red flames jumped out, and it was the Hell Yiksha's demon fire vortex. This red flame was completely formed by Yang Dingtian's profound qi. Therefore, this was undoubtedly the most exhausting profound qi fighting method. Although this kind of flame's consumption of profound qi was not as high as profound skills, it was dozens of times higher than ordinary martial skills. The two flame vortexes fiercely fought against each other, and the temperature around Yang Dingtian became higher and higher. From dozens of degrees to hundreds of degrees, to hundreds of degrees, to thousands of degrees. The red flames that erupted from the burning heaven sword firmly protected Yang Dingtian's entire body. At the same time, Yang Dingtian also needed to separate a portion of profound qi to protect himself from the high temperature, so the profound qi in his body really surged out like a tide and was quickly consumed. On the other hand, the Yiksha was completely different. It was a fire-type demon beast. Using profound qi to turn into flames was its instinct, so the profound qi consumed by each flame was only a fraction of Yang Dingtian's. Moreover, it was not afraid of high temperature and flames, and even greedily enjoyed them. Therefore, although this Yiksha's profound qi level was slightly lower than Yang Dingtian's. However, the battle situation was indeed that Yang Dingtian had fallen into an absolute disadvantage. In this way, Yang Dingtian and the Yiksha engaged in the most direct profound qi competition. Just half an hour later, Yang Dingtian's mystic qi was almost completely depleted, but Yiksha's qi was still as light as before. Gradually, the flames formed by Yang Dingtian's profound qi became smaller and smaller, gradually unable to protect Yang Dingtian's entire body. The high temperature fiercely attacked, and the surface temperature of Yang Dingtian's body rapidly increased to hundreds of degrees, 200 degrees. No, he had to think of another way. It just so happened that his profound qi was completely exhausted. Yang Dingtian's feet touched the ground, and he quickly retreated, wanting to immediately withdraw from the secret room. But how could the Yiksha allow Yang Dingtian to escape so easily? The long whip in its hand was like a viper, fiercely and quickly wrapping around Yang Dingtian's neck. Pig-slaying swordsmanship, a sword to the throat. Yang Dingtian backhanded his sword, directly stabbing into the middle of the circle formed by the flaming poisonous tongue whip. Pig-slaying swordsmanship, cleaning the stomach. The heavy sword in his hand quickly stirred, and suddenly all the flaming poisonous tongue whip were entangled. Taking the opportunity, Yang Dingtian quickly rushed out of the secret room. But at this time, the flaming poisonous snake whip entangled by the heavy sword suddenly extended, as if it was alive, more than 10 meters long, aiming at Yang Dingtian's back, and suddenly licked. Yang Dingtian exhausted the last of his profound qi, and rushed out like flying. Bang! There was a sharp pain on his back, and the flaming poisonous tongue whip still fiercely whipped Yang Dingtian's back, directly to his neck. Yang Dingtian's body directly flew out, and there was a deep wound on the back of his neck. Damn it, no matter which one of the assassins in this secret room, they were all so powerful, so abnormal. In their own plane, they completely had the advantage. The three-headed giant appeared again, and carried Yang Dingtian into the green pool in its arms to recuperate. This time, Yang Dingtian's injury was light, so he only stayed for less than half an hour and was already healed. After being put on the ground, Yang Dingtian went to the center of the hall where the profound qi was the densest and began to absorb profound qi. The result was exactly the same as he imagined. There was no growth in his profound qi, and no breakthrough. In this secret realm, there would be no breakthrough at all if he was passively beaten. After completely recovering his profound qi, Yang Dingtian did not hesitate and directly walked towards the ice element secret training room. That's right, he was cultivating the burning heaven sword in the ice element secret training room. Without a doubt, in the ice element secret room, the power of the burning heaven sword would be greatly weakened. In this incomparably harsh environment, the power of the burning heaven sword would continue to grow. Hiss. After retreating from the ice element's secret room's door, young Dingtian had just taken a step forward when his entire body shivered. It was so cold. The entire secret room was snow-white, and there was no concept of space. It was snow-white everywhere, and there was also a terrifyingly low temperature. Yang Dingtian guessed that the temperature here should be around -40 degrees Celsius. If it was anyone else, even if they were extremely powerful experts, they would need to use profound qi to protect themselves. But to Yang Dingtian, this temperature was only cold, and he did not need to use profound qi to protect himself. That's right, this was Yang Dingtian's advantage, the advantage of the 9 Yang profound veins. Then, what about the assassin in this secret room? Just as Yang Dingtian thought of this, the surrounding walls suddenly changed. Pieces of icicles cracked and fell from the walls, and then a cold wind blew past. These icicles condensed together and turned into a human figure, a beautiful, sparkling and translucent iceman. "Hello, stranger. Are you here to play with me?" This female iceman's voice was very clear and pleasant to the ears. It was even the clearest voice Yang Dingtian had ever heard, just like the sound of ice shattering. "I'm really too cold. Mister, can you use your blood to warm me up?" the female iceman said in a delicate voice. Her face still had a charming smile, but her gaze suddenly turned cold. Whoosh 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 whoosh. From the female iceman's body, countless ice blades suddenly burst out. Like a butterfly, they flew wildly in the secret room, crazily cutting Yang Dingtian's entire body. The effect of such an attack was extremely beautiful, but also extremely cruel. Because, if it was anyone else, they would have long been cut into a pile of meat paste. Even if it was an expert more powerful than Yang Dingtian, they were instantly cut into a pile of bones, not even a trace of blood or flesh could be seen. These thousands of ice blades were like man-eating small demon beasts. When they passed through your body, they would directly take away a piece of flesh and blood. It was as if countless piranhas were only left with a pile of bones after passing through. This kind of small and incomparably sharp ice blade is completely unavoidable and unstoppable. In an instant, Yang Dingtian was cut hundreds of thousands of times. His entire body was immediately enveloped by the ice blades and his figure could not be seen. Countless icicle-flying daggers cut his body madly. "Ha ha ha." The female iceman giggled and said, "Stranger, you're going to die. Thank you so much for your blood, it can bring me some warmth." "Thank you, strange brother." Then, the female iceman opened her hand and immediately retracted all the ice blades. Countless ice blades flew back like butterflies and directly stuck to the female iceman's body and became a part of her body. "There will be delicious fresh blood soon." The female iceman's laughter was as sweet as before. Then, she opened her watery eyes and looked over. Immediately, her laughter came to an abrupt end. Because Yang Dingtian was standing in his original position, unharmed. Those countless ice blades crazily cutting did not cause any harm to him. "Impossible, how could this be?" the female iceman exclaimed, her voice changed. "Yes, how could this be?" This result was also greatly out of Yang Dingtian's expectation. He knew that his 9 Yang profound veins would have a huge advantage in the ice-type secret room, but he did not expect it to be such an overwhelming advantage. The killer here, with such a stunning attack, actually did not cause any harm to him. Since that was the case, then if he did not take this opportunity to cultivate properly, he would be too sorry. Burning Heaven Sword. A burst of profound qi was injected into the youngling sword. Immediately, the youngling sword turned red, but there was no flame coming out, only the sword body turned red. With a leap, he appeared in front of the female iceman and fiercely stabbed the sword in his hand. "Humph, humph." The woman sneered and stood motionless in her original position. Yang Dingtian's fiery red sword suddenly pierced her chest. Crash. In an instant, the female iceman's body completely disintegrated, turning into countless ice fragments and scattered on the ground. Immediately after, a burst of cold wind blew, and these ice fragments once again condensed, turning into an intact female iceman. Chapter 169. Yang Dingtian was stunned. With another move of the burning heaven sword, he suddenly slashed towards her beautiful head. Walala! The female iceman's head directly shattered, and her entire body shattered, scattering all over the ground. A gust of wind blew, and these ice fragments condensed again, and the female iceman was as good as new again. Ha ha ha! The female iceman suddenly laughed proudly. This time, it was Yang Dingtian's turn to be puzzled. What was going on? The female iceman couldn't do anything to Yang Dingtian, so why couldn't Yang Dingtian do anything to her? Yang Dingtian didn't believe in this evil, and the sword in his hand slashed wildly. He slashed the female iceman's chest, neck, waist, and legs. After dozens of slashes, the result was the same every time. The female iceman was directly smashed to pieces, but after a cold wind blew, she was as good as new. Strange brother, it's my turn next. The female iceman said in a tender voice. Ah! Then she let out a high-pitched cry, and her entire body completely shattered, turning into countless ice and snow powder. Countless ice and snow powder suddenly scattered, like dancing ice sand, turning into a huge devil's mouth in the air, and suddenly swallowing Yang Dingtian. Burning Heaven Sword. Yang Dingtian roared, and channeled all his profound energy into the young sword, and instantly a flame burned fiercely. Suddenly, countless ice sand completely swallowed Yang Dingtian. Endless ice energy frantically penetrated Yang Dingtian's body. The surrounding temperature was getting lower and lower, minus 30 degrees, 40 degrees, 50 degrees. In the end, it was completely bone-piercing cold. It was as if the nerves, profound veins, blood, and bones were completely frozen. Yang Dingtian frantically waved the young sword in his hand in the mouth of the ice demon. Countless burning heaven sword, countless burning red young sword rushed towards the ice sand prison. But countless times, the bone-piercing cold extinguished the flames. Over and over again, countless burning heaven sword, all returned without any success. The reason for that was because that frightening ice-cold energy was completely mobile and ever-changing. These countless burning heaven swords and countless flames all required the support of profound qi. Therefore, after a short hour, Yang Dingtian's profound energy was once again on the brink of exhaustion, but he was still unable to break out of the ice sands prison. This was because no matter where he ran to, countless ice grains would move with him, trapping him firmly in the icy demonic mouth. He had to change his strategy. Yang Dingtian ignored the crazy ice cold, and the youngling sword in his hand suddenly stabbed into the ground. Earth-sealing sword. Suddenly, boundless profound energy burst out from the youngling sword and permeated every inch of space. This special profound energy abruptly sealed all of the energy in an instant. This Xian Qi was still of the fire attribute and not of the ice attribute. However, this kind of Xian Qi could be split into countless parts in an instant, and each part could trap the enemy's tiny energy. Yang Dingtian was a fire elementalist. If he was an ice elementalist, then the effect of this earth-sealing sword would be even more astonishing. In an instant, countless ice grains were temporarily imprisoned. Burning Heaven Sword. Yang Dingtian exhausted the last of his profound energy, and a soaring flame appeared in his hand, and he fiercely slashed at the last place of the ice sand prison. Bang! In an instant, a huge hole was smashed in the frozen ice sand prison, and the dreamland collapsed. Then, all the ice grains began to gather and quickly condensed into a female ice woman. At this time, the female ice woman was already injured, and she looked at Yang Dingtian in disbelief. The ice hell just now was already her trump card, but it was still helpless against Yang Dingtian. With a cry of alarm, she immediately wanted to escape, turning into countless ice shards and sticking to the wall. This way, there would be endless ice energy to devour, and Yang Dingtian could do nothing to her. If he let her run away, it would be difficult to make her appear again. Of course, Yang Dingtian would not allow her to escape, and the sword in his hand stabbed out like lightning. Earth-sealing sword. It was still the earth-sealing sword, and in an instant, the female ice woman's body was imprisoned. Of course, Yang Dingtian's move was only useful against pure energy bodies. It could not imprison a real enemy, because he was not an ice martial artist after all. After being imprisoned, the youngling sword in Yang Dingtian's hand suddenly burned, and he rushed forward and slashed at her body. Burning Heaven Sword. Countless flames suddenly smashed the female ice woman into pieces. A gust of wind blew, and countless fragments began to condense again, returning to a complete female ice woman. Earth-sealing sword. The female ice woman who was about to escape was imprisoned. Burning Heaven Sword. The giant flame sword slashed down. Just like this, the cycle repeated. The earth-sealing sword and the burning heaven sword were waved in turn. The female ice woman's body was getting smaller and smaller. After the 39th sword. Burning heaven sword. Yang Dingtian used all his profound energy to slash down with the last sword. Walala. The female ice woman was completely turned into ashes. Yang Dingtian destroyed the third interloper of the Five Elements Palace, and his profound energy was completely exhausted. As expected, his 9 yang profound veins had the advantage in the ice secret room. Other than the lightning element, the ice element was the most abnormal among all the interlopers in the secret room, because it was completely unkillable. Moreover, her attacks were all-pervasive, and her entire body was a weapon. In the end, because of Yang Dingtian's 9 yang profound veins, he destroyed the ice element interloper. Although he spent a lot of effort, he almost didn't encounter any danger. Dragging his tired body, Yang Dingtian returned to the center of the hall, held the youngling sword, and once again entered the profound energy absorption. It was still an incomparably familiar feeling, and countless profound energy poured into the profound veins. This time, it took a full 12 hours for the profound energy to fill the empty chi sea. It was still the familiar restlessness, the familiar expansion, bang. A white light flashed in the chi sea, and the world in Yang Dingtian's body once again fell into a temporary nothingness. Half a minute later, everything gradually returned to normal. Yang Dingtian broke through again. Although he had already expected it, when it really happened, Yang Dingtian was still overjoyed. His profound energy level directly surpassed the middle and upper 9 stars, and directly broke through to 1-star Mystic Martial Master. He broke through. Yang Dingtian was so excited that the blood in his body began to boil. Ever since he left the 10,000 Snow Palace, he had always been a mystic martial warrior. Even when he learned the second stage of the pig-slaying swordsmanship, he only broke through to 5-star Mystic Martial Warrior. Now, he finally broke through to Mystic Martial Master. He was still 10 levels away from his goal, Great Mystic Martial Master. The pattern of the 5 Elements Palace's secret realm was indeed correct. As long as he destroyed the interlopers, there would definitely be a huge breakthrough. Yang Dingtian destroyed 3 interlopers and advanced from 6-star Mystic Martial Warrior to 1-star Mystic Martial Master. There were still a dozen or so interlopers left. According to the current pattern, every time he destroyed an interloper, he would break through to 1 star. Then, Yang Dingtian would break through to 3-star Great Mystic Martial Master. Great Mystic Martial Master. It could be said to be the dividing line between the strong in this world. As long as he crossed the line of Great Mystic Martial Master, he could be said to be one of the strong in this world. This was because Great Mystic Martial Masters had already started to learn profound skills and could refine heart fire. After breaking through to Mystic Martial Master, Yang Dingtian continued to absorb profound energy for a few hours, filling his profound veins and energy sea once again. After his body was filled with energy, he once again arrived in front of the fire door and pushed it open. Immediately, he felt a terrifying heat and a fiery red color everywhere. The fire's secret room was the same as Yang Dingtian's profound veins, so it was the most disadvantageous because there was no way to counter it. Taking a deep breath, Yang Dingtian took a step forward but did not touch the ground. This was because the moment he touched the ground, the yiksha that gave him a headache would appear. That yiksha really gave him a headache, especially its flaming viper whip and its green demon fire. It was crazily destroying Yang Dingtian's profound veins and body, but Yang Dingtian was helpless against it. As long as I can kill you, I'll accept it even if I have to enter the green pool on the giant's chest again. Yang Dingtian said in his heart, then suddenly landed on the ground. With a burst of sharp laughter, the half-human, half-beast yiksha suddenly jumped down from the wall. The flaming viper whip in its hand emitted a green demon fire as it suddenly swept towards Yang Dingtian. Burning Heaven Sword. Yang Dingtian clenched his fist and poured in a powerful profound energy, then suddenly slashed towards the yiksha. Boom! A flame soared into the sky. It was more than 30 meters long and carried a fiery red sword aura as it fiercely chopped down towards the yiksha. Bang! A loud sound rang out and a dazzling brilliance flashed. That yiksha was directly split into two halves. The fiery red blood did not even have time to fall to the ground before it was directly cut into two halves from head to toe. Then, it crashed onto the ground and burned fiercely, turning into ashes. Then, a gust of wind blew past and the ashes on the ground completely disappeared. The first person to stop the fire element secret room, the fire yiksha, was directly killed in an instant. Yang Dingtian was completely dumbfounded. As if he had been petrified, he stood in place without moving. It wasn't until the yiksha was completely annihilated that he slightly woke up. He had long been prepared for a bitter battle. He even prepared to enter the green pool on the giant's chest once. Because this fire yiksha was really difficult to deal with, he didn't expect that the result would be an instant kill, a naked instant kill. This power was too astonishing. Was it that powerful to jump ranks? A 9-star mystic martial artist and a 1-star mystic martial master were only one level apart, but the difference in combat strength was so great that it was several times greater. The 9-star mystic martial artist Yang Dingtian could only emit a few feet of flames. The mystic martial master Yang Dingtian directly emitted flames that were dozens of meters long. The 9-star mystic martial artist Yang Dingtian was tortured to death by this fire yiksha. The mystic martial master Yang Dingtian directly killed this fire yiksha in an instant. Just like that, when Yang Dingtian returned to the main hall, he still had a large amount of mystic qi in his body. Now, he had to make a new choice. He had entered the metal, fire, wind, and ice rooms of the 5 elements hall. He had killed all the first-level bosses of the 4 elements. Then, should he enter the lightning-type training room? Or should he enter the second metal-type room? Lightning-type. It was like a bug in this world, an extremely mysterious existence. However, it didn't have much use in battle because it was almost impossible to meet lightning-type enemies. The most important thing was that Yang Dingtian felt that the lightning type was unnecessary. That's right, this was the feeling. Fire type and ice type could complement each other. Gold type and wind type could complement each other. If Yang Dingtian couldn't pass the fire type room, then he would go to the ice type room to practice the fire type sword techniques. Then, he would return to the fire type room and his power would increase by leaps and bounds. It could be said that without the ice type room, Yang Dingtian wouldn't be able to pass the fire type room. Without the metal type room, Yang Dingtian wouldn't be able to pass the wind type room. Of course, the opposite was also true. However, the lightning type room was completely independent. As if it had nothing to do with the other 4 elements. Yang Dingtian thought for half an hour and finally decided to try the most mysterious and rare lightning type room. Even if it was just to see what the killer looked like. He wanted to see how scary the lightning type room was. After making the decision, young Ding Tian grabbed Ah Chao's youngling sword and walked to the door of the lightning-type room. Different from the other doors, the lightning-type door's color was constantly changing. There was no fixed color at all. Stretching out his hand, he pushed open this unpredictable door. Inside, it was pitch black, as if it was an endless starry sky. It was extremely mysterious and dangerous. At this moment, young Ding Tian felt as if his heart was about to jump out. Because this aura was too terrifying. He clenched his teeth and stepped in. Instantly, the surroundings fell into absolute darkness. Absolute darkness. Suddenly, the surrounding time and space concept all disappeared and stagnated. Young Ding Tian clenched the youngling sword in his hand. He wanted to fight but found that there was no opponent. Once he stepped into the secret room, the killer would appear. But at this moment, young Ding Tian had already entered a dark secret room. The killer still didn't appear. Chapter 170. Pa. There was a loud sound. In the complete darkness, a white light flashed. It looked like lightning, but it also didn't look like lightning. It struck Yang Dingtian's body. Bang! Yang Dingtian was sent flying. He flew out of the secret room and flew to the entrance of the hall. His entire body was black, and it was unknown whether he was dead or alive. This couldn't even be considered an instant kill. This was a level higher than an instant kill. The opponent couldn't even be seen or found. A lightning strike directly ignored any defense and flew out. The three-headed giant opened his eyes again and grabbed Yang Dingtian in his hand. Trial Taker is heavily injured for the fourth time. Checking the Trial Taker's vitality. Trial Taker has no vitality. Suspected to be dead. The Guardian is preparing to destroy the Trial Taker's traces. Judging this trial to be a complete failure, the Guardian is destroying the Trial Taker's traces. Countdown. 10. 9. 8. As the countdown approached, the three-headed giant's palm became tighter and tighter. When the countdown ended, his palm would suddenly grab and Yang Dingtian's body would directly turn into ashes, completely erasing all traces. 3. 2. 1. The giant's palm suddenly tightened. Suddenly, Yang Dingtian's body twitched. The three-headed giant stopped destroying. Trial Taker's vitality is suspected to have appeared. The Guardian is checking again, confirming that the Trial Taker has vitality. Once again, put him into the sacred pool to recuperate. Then, the three-headed giant opened the stone slab in front of his chest and put Yang Dingtian into the pool again. This was the closest Yang Dingtian had come to death in the trial. This was the power of the lightning chamber. It was too amazing. A full 3 days and 3 nights. This time, Yang Dingtian stayed in the green pool for 3 days and 3 nights before waking up. It was longer than the previous times he was unconscious. Even when he woke up, he found that his body was completely charred like coal. It was too horrible to look at. This lightning chamber was not just a bug. It was completely hell. There was no chance of survival at all. After entering, he couldn't find any opponent at all. He was directly struck down by a bolt of lightning without any defensive ability. This lightning element secret room was indeed unnecessary. Just the other 4 element secret rooms were enough for a practitioner to advance to a 3-star Great Mystic Martial Master. There was no need to cultivate in the lightning element secret room. Perverted, this was too perverted. It was simply impossible for any trial taker to pass through the lightning chamber. Unless they were naturally gifted, for example, the kind that was not afraid of electricity at all, or the kind that was charged with electricity. After waking up, Yang Dingtian recuperated in the green pool for more than 10 hours. Only then did the terrifying scars on his body gradually fade away. The terrifying charred skin gradually fell off, and his entire body was healed. At this moment, Yang Dingtian was filled with curiosity and shock towards the green pool. What exactly was the water in the green pond? It really had the effect of bringing the dead back to life. As long as one was not dead, they would be able to recover after entering the pool. Yang Dingtian immediately thought of Yan Yan. Her Xian meridians were damaged. Would they be able to recover after entering the pool? The three-headed giant said that this was sacred water. A crazy idea immediately emerged in Yang Dingtian's mind. That is, when he leaves, he will take some sacred water back to treat Yan Yan's Xian meridians. Once this idea came up, it could not be stopped. Yang Dingtian's heart immediately started beating very fast. He had never been a thief before, so with just a thought, his heart started beating wildly. However, he temporarily put this idea aside. Currently, the most important thing is to continue training in the secret room and break through to a 3-star mystic martial master as soon as possible before leaving. When it is time to leave, he will steal the sacred water. Returning to the center of the hall, Yang Dingtian continued to use his Xian breathing technique to regulate his breathing. After he completely recovered his Xian Qi, he took his youngling sword and walked towards the metal element secret room. As for the lightning element secret room, it was a complete nightmare. He did not even want to take a look at it. After entering the first metal element secret room, the stone golem still jumped down from the wall and swung its giant hammer towards Yang Dingtian. Its mouth was still saying the familiar words. Yang Dingtian casually swung his sword. Bang! The giant hammer in its hand was directly split apart. Whoosh! Another sword slashed down towards its head. Crash! The stone golem's body was directly shattered into pieces. Just a few days ago, the stone golem was still swaggering around, causing Yang Dingtian to be helpless and even heavily injuring him. Now, Yang Dingtian casually swung his sword and shattered it into pieces. It can be seen how much Yang Dingtian's cultivation has increased. Of course, after destroying the stone golem, his Xian Qi will not have any breakthrough. Yang Dingtian directly went to the second door of the metal element secret room and pushed it open. In front of him is the second metal element secret room. A few days ago, Yang Dingtian was directly killed by the level 2 metal golem. He flew a few hundred meters and almost died. At that time, Yang Dingtian did not have any ability to fight back against the level 2 metal golem. Now, he had broken through several levels and even became a 1-star black martial master. So, what would happen if he fought against the metal golem? Taking a deep breath, Yang Dingtian stepped in. Suddenly, he felt his body sink. The familiar feeling of 9 times gravity came again. It was as if everything had become heavy and slow. With a piercing sound, the familiar metal golem suddenly bounced out from the wall. It held a giant sword and directly slashed towards Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingtian bent his knees and held his breath. He held his sword with both hands and suddenly shouted. Ah! He raised the heavy sword in his hand to meet the metal golem's giant sword and slashed violently. A few days ago, Yang Dingtian was directly sent flying a few hundred meters like a straw. Blood spurted out, his muscles were torn, and his Xian meridians were split open. It was unknown whether he was alive or dead. So, what about this time? Ah! There was a deafening sound. The 2 heavy swords collided violently and suddenly burst into dazzling sparks. This was a collision of strength against strength, Xian Qi against Xian Qi. Puff! Yang Dingtian spat out a mouthful of blood and retreated a dozen steps. After standing still, Yang Dingtian felt a surge in his chest and spat out another mouthful of blood. His arm was in severe pain and trembled uncontrollably. But that was all. He wasn't sent flying, nor was he killed instantly. Yang Dingtian's lips curled into a determined smile. As long as you don't kill me, I won't fall. I will have a chance to destroy you. After pushing Yang Dingtian back a dozen steps and spitting out blood, the metal golem flew away and rushed forward. It waved the giant sword in its hand and continued to slash at Yang Dingtian. Come on, let's fight. Yang Dingtian roared and slashed the giant sword in his hand. Clang. Sparks burst out and there was another deafening sound. Yang Dingtian's sword collided with the giant sword of the metal golem again. It was a naked confrontation of strength and Xian Qi. Puff. Yang Dingtian spat out another mouthful of blood and retreated a dozen steps. Yes, he only spat out a mouthful of blood and retreated a dozen steps. He had made progress compared to the first sword. The metal golem did not give Yang Dingtian any chance to breathe. It chased after him and slashed the giant sword in its hand again. This was the third sword. Come on, again. Yang Dingtian's blood seemed to be burning. He slashed at the giant sword in his hand. Clang. There was a loud sound. Yang Dingtian retreated 8 steps. A mouthful of blood rushed to his throat, but Yang Dingtian swallowed it down. He had made progress again. Come on, again. Yang Dingtian waved the giant sword in his hand and shouted at the metal golem. The metal golem sped up and slashed at him again. The fourth sword, the fifth sword, the sixth sword, the seventh sword, the eighth sword, the ninth sword, clang. There was a loud sound. Finally, when the metal golem slashed at him for the 9th time, Yang Dingtian's body only trembled. He did not retreat at all. The dividing line was here. Yang Dingtian began to gain the upper hand. Now, it's my turn, Yang Dingtian shouted. He used all his strength, aimed at the metal golem's head, and slashed at it. All-conquering sword, all-conquering, the metal golem and the giant sword collided. There was a loud sound and sparks flew. The metal golem's body trembled. There's more. Yang Dingtian roared and slashed down with his sword again. All-conquering, 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 3 sword, 4 sword, 5 sword, 6 sword, 7 sword, 8 sword, 9 sword, every sword was an all-conquering sword. Yang Dingtian slashed 9 times fiercely. As for the metal golem, he blocked 9 sword strikes. After the last sword strike, he finally ran out of strength and took half a step back. All-conquering. Yang Dingtian held the sword with both hands and used the last of his celestial qi to slash at the metal golem. Clang. Sparks flew. The metal golem blocked Yang Dingtian's all-conquering sword and staggered back 2 steps. Currently, Yang Dingtian's mystic qi had been completely depleted and had been completely exhausted. When the metal golem retreated, he quickly retreated and left the second metal chamber. He returned to the center of the hall as fast as he could. Although he did not kill the level 2 metal golem, Yang Dingtian was satisfied that he had gained the upper hand. After returning to the center of the hall, Yang Dingtian found that his muscles had cracked and blood was oozing out continuously. The web between his thumb and index finger where he held the sword had already split open. Yang Dingtian did not enter the sacred water pool in front of the giant's chest to recuperate. Instead, he held A Chao's youngling sword and started to absorb celestial qi in the center of the hall. So comfortable. Yang Dingtian let out a comfortable moan when the celestial qi rushed into his body. It was still a very familiar feeling. The endless celestial qi was like water, nourishing Yang Dingtian's injured and dried up celestial meridians. The celestial qi filled his celestial meridians and flowed into his sea of qi. After a few hours, Yang Dingtian's sea of qi had expanded to its limit. However, Yang Dingtian did not want to break through because he did not defeat the metal golem. He did not expect to break through. However, he did not expect that his sea of qi would suddenly burst out a white light after it had expanded to its limit. The world of Yang Dingtian's body fell into nothingness once again. Yang Dingtian did not expect to break through at all, but he did. He did not destroy the stone golem. He only fought against it with brute force and only gained the upper hand. He did not expect that he would break through directly. Moreover, he skipped the 1-star intermediate and high-grade martial artist and directly broke through to 2-star mystic martial master. Yang Dingtian was overjoyed at this development, but he also did not understand it. However, it was a good thing to have a breakthrough. Yang Dingtian kept his surprise and continued to absorb celestial qi. After a few hours, Yang Dingtian's body was once again filled with strength and celestial qi. All his celestial meridians were filled with celestial qi and his sea of qi was also very full. Holding A Chao's giant sword, Yang Dingtian returned to the second metal elemental secret room. This time, he was already prepared. He pushed open the door and walked in directly. Soon, the metal golem swung its giant sword and rushed up to Yang Dingtian. It slashed down hard. Clang! Yang Dingtian met the sword head-on. His body trembled, and he felt pain in his arm. But that was all. He did not vomit blood or take half a step back. The metal golem trembled violently and took half a step back. Now, it's time to get rid of you. Yang Dingtian sneered. He held the sword with both hands and slashed down hard at the metal golem. Invincible, the first sword, the metal golem took 3 steps back, the second sword, the metal golem took 5 steps back, the third sword, the metal golem took 9 steps back, the fourth sword, invincible, the metal golem took more than 10 steps back, the fifth sword, invincible. The metal golem flew out violently and fell dozens of meters away. Now is the time to destroy you. Yang Dingtian immediately rushed up like a ferocious tiger coming down from the mountain. Before the metal golem could stand up, Yang Dingtian held the sword with both hands and slashed fiercely at its body. Invincible, 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 one sword after another, he slashed crazily at the metal golem. After more than 10 swords, the metal golem's giant sword finally could not withstand it and shattered. It had lost its weapon. Yang Dingtian's heavy sword slashed its body crazily. Its entire body was made of a special metal and was very hard. Every time Yang Dingtian slashed, there would be a burst of sparks and deep wounds. 20 swords, 30 swords, 50 swords, 100 swords. At this time, the metal golem could not get up at all. Yang Dingtian stepped on it and slashed it crazily. Its originally silver body was now completely covered in wounds. It was a tragic sight. Destroy. Yang Dingtian gathered all the qi in his body and slashed down with his sword. Bang! With a loud sound, the silver metal golem's body was directly split into 2 by Yang Dingtian. Crash! The metal golem that was split into 2 shattered. A gust of wind blew past and it immediately disappeared without a trace. Yang Dingtian used the yin-yang heaven and earth sword to destroy the 5th secret realm assassin. It was also the first second-level assassin. At this time, the qi in Yang Dingtian's body was once again completely exhausted. Dragging his tired body and excited spirit, Yang Dingtian returned to the center of the 5 Elements Great Hall. Holding A Chao's youngling sword, he once again began to absorb qi. Yang Dingtian loved this moment the most. Because the feeling of qi entering his body was really like a person who had been thirsty for half a month and drank sweet spring water. Qi continued to flow into his qi meridians and then to his qi sea. A few hours later, his qi sea expanded to its limit. Then, with a sudden tremble, a ray of light flashed, but it did not enter nothingness. Yang Dingtian had a breakthrough, but it was not a big breakthrough. From a 2-star elementary mystic martial master, he skipped the middle level and directly became a 2-star superior mystic martial master. He was only a little bit away from becoming a 3-star mystic martial master. Although he did not directly break through to become a 3-star mystic martial master, Yang Dingtian was still very excited. Because he had already grasped the rhythm of the secret realm. The following trials would become much easier. A few hours later, Yang Dingtian's qi si and qi si were completely filled with qi. His entire body was once again filled with strength. Holding A Chao's youngling sword, Yang Dingtian retreated from the door of the wind element secret room. He wanted to enter the second room of the wind element secret room to undergo the trial. What awaited him was a second-level wind element assassin. It was another new battle. Just like this, time passed second by second, minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day. Yang Dingtian was completely immersed in the trial of the secret realm. At first, he still remembered the time. But very quickly, he completely forgot about the concept of time. There was only one thought in his mind, and that was to go through the trial, destroy the assassin, and make himself stronger. He did not know how many times he was injured. He also did not know how many times he entered the sacred water pond. He also did not know how many times he was on the verge of death. He also did not know how many times he was badly mutilated. He also did not know how many times he was on the verge of death. He went back and forth between the central Great Hall and the various secret rooms. He also did not know how many times he broke through after absorbing Qi. How many times did he break through? He really forgot. Chapter 171. He really didn't know how many terrifying scenes he had encountered. These secret rooms became more and more perverted the further he went. There were a total of 5 metal-type secret rooms. The first room had 3 times the gravity, the second room had 9 times the gravity, the third room had 27 times the gravity, the fourth room had 81 times the gravity, and the fifth room had 243 times the gravity. When Yang Dingtian practiced his sword in the illusory void in his mind, there were hundreds and thousands of times the gravity there. Yang Dingtian's body and spirit were completely destroyed, and his soul scattered. But that was in the illusory void after all. At this time, in the secret realm, it was completely real. 81 times the gravity, 243 times the gravity, it was completely shocking to the extreme. It could be said that if one's cultivation was not enough, the moment he took a step, his blood vessels would burst and he would die. His entire body and bones would immediately collapse. Not to mention, Yang Dingtian was still holding a 300-kilogram youngling sword in his hand. In the last metal-type secret room, it was close to 100,000 kilograms. In the past, Yang Dingtian could not even hold a 100,000-kilogram sword, let alone wield it to fight. The highest boss of the metal-type secret room, the level 5 stopper, was a 6-armed golden Buddha. It was incomparably powerful and hard. Yang Dingtian was hit by this 6-armed Buddha more than a dozen times. Each trial was a narrow escape. His bones had been broken 7 times. He vomited blood countless times. Each time, he almost died. Each time, he was saved by the green holy water pool. Finally, Yang Dingtian used the all-conquering sword to completely destroy this powerful 6-armed Buddha, proving that the all-conquering sword was indeed indestructible. In the fire-type secret room, the higher the temperature was, and the more perverted the boss was. In the 5th fire-type secret room, the entire secret room was filled with flowing magma. Every inch of air was at least 1,000 degrees Celsius. In this secret room, almost all of his celestial qi had to be used to protect his body from the flames. In less than 3 minutes after Yang Dingtian entered, just the defense alone exhausted all of his celestial qi. And the fire-type level 5 stopper was a strange and terrifying netherworld fire ghost. He was completely an energy body, so he didn't feel anything when he was stabbed or slashed. If he were to be hit by him, it would be a complete nightmare. His fire was the pure white spectral cold fire. Just a little bit of it would burn through his entire body. If Yang Dingtian did not have the deep-sea Xian clothes, he would have died dozens of times already. In the end, Yang Dingtian could only frantically brandish the youngling sword in his hand to resist the devil's spectral cold fire. This was because the youngling sword was forged from bloody black gold. The demon's ghost cold fire could not harm it. After using his youngling sword to protect himself from being injured, Yang Dingtian chose to use the earth-sealing sword to lock onto the netherworld fire ghost. Then, he used the Hell Splitter sword 9 times before finally destroying this terrifying Netherfire ghost. Let's talk about the training in the Wind Elemental Chamber. In the 5th Wind Elemental Chamber, every inch of air around him had become a deadly killer. Converted to Earth's scale, the wind in this secret room was close to force 20. On Earth, the strongest wind was generally only force 12. A force 30 gale could even break metal. Even a heavy object weighing more than 10,000 pounds could be easily blown into the air. In this way, after being injured 9 times, Yang Dingtian was able to drift with the wind without being injured by the wind. And the last obstacle in the Wind Elemental Chamber was a blade succubus queen. The wind blades she shot out were faster than lightning and could cut through a meter-thick steel. Yang Dingtian's thigh was penetrated by her wind blades 3 times. His neck was once cut through from the middle, and his arm was once directly cut off. But every time, he was saved by the sacred water pond. In short, the 5th Wind Elemental Chamber was Yang Dingtian's most tragic moment. Facing the Blade Succubus Queen was Yang Dingtian's most tragic battle. In the end, Yang Dingtian was completely helpless and chose to rush to the Succubus Queen's side. He used the Earth-Sealing Sword to temporarily imprison her. He used the Burning Sky Sword to destroy the sharp blades all over her body. He used the Invisible Sword to destroy her heart. The 3 swords combined into one to completely kill this level 5 Wind Elemental Assassin. Now, Yang Dingtian was in front of the last battle. In front of him was the 5th Ice Elemental Chamber, which was also the last secret room in his trial. Because the Thunder Elemental Chamber was a bug, he would never go there. Just as he opened the door, he was met with a deadly cold that almost reached the absolute zero on Earth. It was a cold that could destroy all life, a cold that was even colder than the sacred water pond. Inside, it was a vast expanse of white snow. Everywhere was a sea of snow. Yang Dingtian took a deep breath and then took a step forward. He was about to face the last obstacle, a level 5 Ice Elemental Assassin. Huff! The sword in Yang Dingtian's hand suddenly burned. At this temperature, even Yang Dingtian's 9 Yang profound veins couldn't withstand it. He had to use his profound qi to ignite the fire to warm himself. A gust of wind blew, and a figure appeared in front of Yang Dingtian. This was an almost perfect woman. Her beautiful face was not inferior to Dongfang Bingling and Shimen Yanyan. The curves of her delicate body were as if carved by the heavens. She had a perfect face and a perfect figure. Every part of her body was perfect. Although Yang Dingtian knew that this was an energy body, it was condensed from ice energy. But she looked exactly the same as a real beauty. Her eyebrows were like distant mountains, her skin was like ice and her bones were like jade. Water-like gemstone eyes, long blue hair. Among all the assassins in the secret realm, the one in front of him was the most beautiful and also the most gentle. She leisurely walked over, stretched out her jade arms and wrapped them around Yang Dingtian's neck. Her delicate body pressed against Yang Dingtian's chest, and said softly, "Brother, I'm so lonely here. Stay here with me, stay with me forever, okay?" Her voice was incomparably soft, incomparably pleasant to listen to. Yang Dingtian's body trembled, and suddenly felt a bone-piercing cold. Endless cold seeped out from her body and drilled into Yang Dingtian's body, as if his blood and profound veins were about to be frozen in an instant. This was her attack, incomparably gentle, but incomparably bone-piercing gentleness. She hugged Yang Dingtian like this, and then froze him to death, completely freezing him into a sculpture. This way, the two of them would be together forever. Yang Dingtian used up all his profound qi, trying to break free. But he discovered that this perfect woman suddenly became as light as a feather, without any weight. Like a soul, she wrapped around his body, completely unable to break free. The cold energy that seemed to come from the depths of hell suddenly drilled into Yang Dingtian's body, slowly but resolutely destroying Yang Dingtian's flesh and blood, Yang Dingtian's profound veins. Burning Heaven Sword. Yang Dingtian's profound qi violently surged out, and suddenly turned into raging flames. All of Yang Dingtian's profound veins surged out, and all of his profound qi turned into raging flames. In an instant, Yang Dingtian and that woman's bodies were completely covered in raging flames. This woman was formed from ice and snow, so Yang Dingtian wanted to use flames to burn her and melt her. But under the raging flames, this bewitching ice and snow woman was still safe and sound. The endless cold continued to invade Yang Dingtian's profound veins, and even headed towards his qi sea. The profound qi in Yang Dingtian's body crazily surged out. His profound qi was being consumed at an unprecedented speed. But the raging flames formed by the burning heaven sword's profound qi became smaller and smaller. Earth-sealing sword. Yang Dingtian was hugged by her. Holding the sword with one hand, he used the earth-sealing sword. He wanted to imprison her for a short period of time, and then escape from her embrace. However, the earth-sealing sword was completely useless against her, because she could freeze everything. All-conquering sword. It was still useless. Her body was soft, but it was formed from extreme cold energy. The all-conquering sword didn't even leave a mark on her. Formless sword, even more useless. Hell-splitting sword, specialized in dealing with energy types. But it was still useless. Yang Dingtian had already tried all 5 moves of Yin Yang Heaven and Earth Sword, but they were all useless. Brother, don't waste your energy. Isn't it good to be with me forever? The Ice Beauty Slaughterer said gently. After saying that, her beautiful eyes suddenly turned blue, and a monstrous cold surged out. Instantly, the flames on Yang Dingtian's youngling sword shrunk rapidly. The bone-piercing cold energy quickly drilled into his qi sea. And Yang Dingtian's profound qi became smaller and smaller. The flames formed by the profound qi became smaller and smaller. Yang Dingtian's mind gradually fell into a daze. He was already unable to move. Most of his profound veins had already been frozen. Then, his mind, his divine sense, and his soul were also gradually frozen. As long as the profound qi flames were extinguished, as long as the cold energy entered his qi sea, Yang Dingtian would die. The ice beauty in front of him, on the contrary, looked like the weakest boss. Her attack method was also the most gentle, but at the same time, she was also the most terrifying. Was he going to die just like that? 9 Yang profound veins originally had the advantage in the ice-type secret room. Previously, Yang Dingtian had destroyed so many vicious people who tried to stop him. The ice beauty in front of him was so gentle. Just by hugging him like that, she actually wanted to kill him. Yang Dingtian's divine sense became fainter and fainter. In the blink of an eye, it disappeared from his mind and was about to fall into an eternal sleep. And the cold energy had already reached his lower abdomen and was about to enter his qi sea. The profound qi flames were already less than half an inch. They gently swayed and were about to be extinguished in the blink of an eye. I can't die. I'm not willing to die like this. I still need to save Yen Yen. I still need to take back Cloud Heaven City. I still need to save Sister Ningning. I still need to seek justice from Dongfang Bingling. I can't die like this. From his mind, Yang Dingtian's last bit of willpower surged out. Using the last of his strength, Yang Dingtian's head directly smashed towards his youngling sword. The tip of the sword fiercely slashed across Yang Dingtian's head. Blood spurted out and splashed on the ice beauty's forehead. On her snow-white forehead, there was a drop of bright red blood. It was like a red plum, incomparably beautiful and delicate. Then, Yang Dingtian used his fingers as a sword and used the last of his profound qi to use the burning heaven sword. He ignited the drop of 9 suns' blood on the ice beauty's forehead. Ah! The ice beauty screamed in horror as if she had seen a ghost. Her beautiful eyes were instantly filled with incomparable fear. Then, the blood on her forehead suddenly burst into flames, burning a deep hole in her beautiful snow-white forehead. It was a pitch-black hole, and the terrifying flames continued to burn inside. Ah! The Ice Beauty issued a burst of mournful screams and desperately wiped the blood on her forehead with her hand. Suddenly, the burning 9 suns' blood stuck to her hand and then rubbed on her body. Ah! Ah! The Ice Beauty no longer cared about pestering young Dingtian. Her whole body was burning and she issued a burst of mournful screams. In the 5th bright snow secret room, she frantically struggled and danced wildly. Finally, she was completely engulfed by the raging flames and thoroughly turned into ashes. Yang Dingtian looked at all this in astonishment. Of course, he also didn't expect that the final boss would be so difficult to deal with and so gentle. Of course, he also didn't expect that destroying the final boss of the ice secret room would be so simple. He only needed to use his own 9 suns' blood. But if he killed her from the beginning, then there wouldn't be the crazy intertwining of ice and fire, the crazy struggle. At this time, Yang Dingtian's profound veins seemed to have been thoroughly baptized. Dragging his scarred body, Yang Dingtian carried his youngling sword and walked step by step back to the center of the 5 elements main hall. He began the last profound breathing technique. Profound qi unceasingly poured into his body, poured into his profound veins and poured into his qi si. Like the warm sunlight, it gradually drove away the coldness in Yang Dingtian's body. Yang Dingtian's 4 limbs and his body gradually recovered their senses. 5 hours passed, 10 hours passed, 20 hours passed. The incomparably dense profound qi first drove away the cold energy in Yang Dingtian's body, then filled his profound veins and qi si. His qi si reached its limit and began to expand. A white light flashed, and Yang Dingtian's inner world entered a temporary state of nothingness. After a full half a minute, everything gradually returned to normal. Yang Dingtian's qi si broke through again. But after experiencing countless breakthroughs and countless profound breathing techniques, Yang Dingtian fought countless battles. He already forgot about time, forgot about everything. He didn't even know how many breakthroughs he had. Therefore, he didn't even know what his current level was. When his profound qi filled his qi si and profound veins again, Yang Dingtian slowly opened his eyes and asked the 3-headed giant, "Giant, what level is my profound qi at now? Did I break through to 3-star Great Mystic Martial Master?" The 3-headed giant opened its 3 giant eyes and said, "You are now a 5-star Great Mystic Martial Master." Ah! Yang Dingtian was pleasantly surprised. 5-star Great Mystic Martial Master. He actually broke through to 5-star Great Mystic Martial Master. Yang Dingtian instantly felt like crying. In this secret realm, he broke through 20 levels. This was an unprecedented breakthrough. Even in the beginning of the Yin-Yang 5 Elements Array and the Yin-Yang Festival that happened once every 300 years, he only broke through 19 levels. But now, he actually broke through 20 levels. Becoming a great mystic martial master meant that one could be considered an expert in this world. Yang Dingtian officially stepped into the ranks of experts. He could learn mystic skills, he could learn the 3rd rank of the pig-slaying sword art, and his combat strength could increase by leaps and bounds. Just like Dugu Fengwu, he had truly soared to the heavens. The secret realm was indeed the most mysterious and powerful thing left behind by the ancient world. It actually allowed him to break through 20 levels. How much time has passed? Yang Dingtian asked as he recalled this extremely important matter. Chapter 172. 98 days have passed since you entered the 5 Elements Hall. The 3-headed giant said. 98 days? That's good. Yang Dingtian let out a long sigh of relief. However, the 3-headed giant had said that even for a mystic pulse practitioner, it would take at least half a year to reach the level of a 3-star Great Mystic Martial Master. Yang Dingtian had only spent 98 days to open 4 passages to the secret realm and break through to the level of a 5-star Great Mystic Martial Master. That meant that there were still 200 days left until the martial arts competition tomorrow. Following this, Yang Dingtian still had 2 opportunities to make a huge breakthrough. One was to learn the 3rd rank of the pig-slaying sword art. The other was to refine the heaven and earth mystic flame. Only a martial mystic rank expert could refine the heaven and earth mystic flame. Yang Dingtian was still 5 ranks away from the martial mystic rank expert. If he was lucky, he might have a big breakthrough after learning the 3rd rank of the pig-slaying sword art. That way, he would be 1 step closer to the martial mystic rank expert. Therefore, it was urgent for him to obtain the 3rd rank of the pig-slaying sword art. The 3rd rank of the pig-slaying sword art should still be in the Hidden Technique Pavilion in Cloud Heaven City because the mysterious black-clothed man only gave Yan Yan the 2nd rank of the pig-slaying sword art. What method could he use to let Yang Dingtian obtain the 3rd rank of the pig-slaying sword art from Cloud Heaven City? Suddenly, a crazy and dangerous method appeared in Yang Dingtian's mind. If it went smoothly, he might be able to enter Cloud Heaven City and obtain the 3rd rank of the pig-slaying sword art without any effort. Furthermore, he really wanted to know how Sister Ningning was doing. Did she fall into the hands of Shimanju and the others? At that moment, Yang Dingtian desperately wanted to return to Cloud Heaven City and return to Cloud Heaven City with another identity. Can I leave now? Yang Dingtian asked. You can leave at any time. After the 6th door of the 4 elements chamber is the bottom of the sea. You can leave the secret realm through any door. The 3-headed giant said. Then I'll take my leave. 3-eyed, thank you for taking care of me. Yang Dingtian bowed deeply to the 3-headed giant. Hold on. The 3-headed giant said, according to the rules of the secret realm, as long as you can open a secret room of a certain element, you can obtain the mystic talisman of that element. You have broken through 4 secret rooms, so you can choose one of the ice, fire, wind, and gold profound talismans as your reward. Other Xian talismans? Yang Dingtian's heart skipped a beat. This was a legendary item, a true treasure. Yang Dingtian had only heard of it, but had never seen it before. Possessing the Xian talisman of another element was equivalent to possessing the attack attribute of this element. For example, if a fire attribute martial artist directly shot out an ice blade, how shocking would that be? Especially for Yang Dingtian, if he had the ice attribute Xian talisman, then he would be able to do anything that an ice attribute martial artist could do. His heaven-sealing sword's power could increase exponentially. The most terrifying thing was that when Yang Dingtian fought with the enemy, he could even combine ice and fire to attack at the same time. At that time, his lethality would be multiplied. Therefore, this other type of talisman was a complete bug. Especially, this Xian talisman could be nurtured, and it could become stronger and stronger. When it was strong enough, its power would not be inferior to another martial spirit, and might even be more mysterious. Please choose a type of Xian talisman as your reward. The 3-headed giant said. Of course it's the ice attribute. Yang Dingtian said. If there was a lightning attribute, of course he would choose the lightning attribute Xian talisman, because the lightning attribute was 1 in 100 million and was a true killing move. However, the lightning secret room was too abnormal, and it was completely impossible to pass. Therefore, among the other 4 elements, Yang Dingtian would definitely choose the ice attribute. The ice attribute was the complete opposite of Yang Dingtian's Yang Xian veins. When Yang Dingtian, a fire attribute martial artist, actually released an ice attribute attack, it could completely suppress everyone. And when the ice and fire attacked together, the power was simply incomparably shocking. Therefore, a wind attribute martial artist had to choose the metal attribute. A fire attribute martial artist had to choose the ice attribute. The 3-headed giant opened his head and took out a piece of jade talisman from inside. It was dark blue and translucent, and light flowed, as if it was completely alive. Yang Dingtian opened his hand, and the giant placed the ice attribute Xian talisman in his palm. Suddenly, a refreshing coolness. It was only cold, and did not feel very cold. However, this cold energy seemed to be alive and filled with boundless vitality. This Xian talisman also had another powerful use, and that was, it could absorb the damage of its own attribute. In other words, when the ice attribute Xian talisman encountered an ice attribute expert, it could help the owner share a portion of the ice energy attack. The stronger it was, the more ice energy it could devour. In theory, when it was strong to a certain level, Yang Dingtian could avoid all ice damage. Now, this ice attribute Xian talisman was equivalent to an infant Xian talisman. It needed to constantly devour ice energy in order to grow and become stronger. Yang Dingtian held the ice attribute Xian talisman and carefully placed it in the spatial ring, afraid that his Yang Xian veins would harm it. After all, it was too fragile at this time. "Thank you for your gift, big guy," Yang Dingtian said. "Then, I'll take my leave." The three-headed giant did not respond, but directly shrank back into its original statue appearance. Before turning back into a statue, the giant seemed to have thought of something and said, "Trial taker, do you want to accept the additional hell-level trial mission? There will be more generous rewards." "What trial mission? Where will it be held? What reward?" Yang Dingtian asked. "Get through the Thunder Attribute secret room," the giant said. "Once completed, you will be rewarded with a Thunder Attribute Xian talisman and a Thunder Attribute Xian skill scroll." Yang Dingtian's heart was beating wildly. God, these two rewards, no matter which one it was, were enough to make the whole world go crazy. Needless to say, the Thunder Attribute Xian talisman could make all of Yang Dingtian's attacks carry Thunder Attribute damage. Thunder Attribute attacks were completely a bug, it could not be blocked or defended at all. Therefore, in this world, if someone used Thunder Attribute martial arts or Xian skill, even if his Xian Qi level was low, people would be terrified and would not dare to provoke him. Because this meant that this person had a huge mysterious background. In the whole world, there were only a handful of people who had Thunder attributes. In the past 100 years, there was only one strong person from the Sea of Hades who used Thunder attribute Xian skills. Even further back, there were people from the Hidden Sect and the Temple of Annihilation who had Thunder attribute Xian skills. Although Thunder attribute martial soul was 1 in a billion, 1 or 2 could occasionally be seen in the past few decades. As for lightning-type mystic skills and martial skill attacks, he had almost never seen them before. Because Thunder attribute secret books were extremely rare, and even if one got it, it was useless. Almost no one could learn it because the Xian Qi in one's body did not have the Thunder attribute. But with Thunder attribute Xian talisman, it was completely different. With the Thunder attribute Xian talisman, anyone could use Thunder attribute Xian skills. Of course, compared to the Ice attribute Xian talisman, it was much harder to nurture the Thunder attribute Xian talisman. However, there was a type of discharge crystal that was born with electricity and could be used to nurture the Thunder attribute Xian talisman, although the price was very high. These were really two extremely tempting rewards. And if Yang Dingtian had the Thunder attribute Xian talisman, he could combine ice, fire and thunder attributes to attack, and the power would be even more astonishing. But Yang Dingtian still shook his head and said, "Forget it, I give up this mission, because the Thunder attribute's secret room is too abnormal, and I don't have time. There is only one chance for this trial mission, and the whole process is very short, only half a quarter of an hour. The winner will leave the secret realm directly after obtaining the 2 prizes at the end of the secret room. The loser will die in the secret room." The three-headed giant said. Half a quarter of an hour, only 7 or 8 minutes to pass through 5 Thunder attribute secret rooms, this was too fast. Yang Dingtian took a deep breath, shook his head and said, "Forget it, I'll give up. Although the reward is incomparably tempting, I still give up. The Thunder attribute secret room is too abnormal, with my current strength, I really can't pass it. Hell's trial mission is not about Xian Qi level, but about wisdom." The three-headed giant said, "Those who have wisdom, even if they are enlighteners, can pass through 5 Thunder attribute secret rooms. Those who lack wisdom, even if they are master-level powerhouses, will have their souls scattered." Yang Dingtian still shook his head and said, "Forget it, I don't have absolute confidence in my wisdom." "Then, goodbye." the three-headed giant said, and then turned back into a statue. Yang Dingtian walked towards the metal attribute room. He chose the sixth door of the metal attribute secret room to leave the secret realm. Suddenly, Yang Dingtian seemed to have thought of something and asked, "Big guy, is the thunder attribute secret room's hell trial useful to a sleeping soul in my mind? I want to wake him up." The three-headed giant opened his eyes, did not immediately answer, as if he was searching his memory. "Yes, it is very useful." The three-headed giant said, "The energy of the thunder attribute has an incomparable effect on awakening all sleeping souls." Yang Dingtian's heart skipped a beat. Did that mean that in the thunder attribute secret room's hell trial, Yang Dingtian could awaken his master's soul in the depths of his mind? It had been a few months, but his master's soul still had not awakened. Not to mention that Yang Dingtian missed his master very much, just looking for the heaven and earth mystic flame, he could not leave his master. Yang Dingtian could not even understand the words on the scroll that Ning Ro gave him, which might be the map of the mystic flame. His master should be able to understand it since he was traveling the world. Of course, even without all this, Yang Dingtian still hoped that his master, Dongfang Minmi, could wake up, even if it was just to talk to Yang Dingtian every day. However, Yang Dingtian had already seen how crazy the thunder attribute secret room was. Entering was really a narrow escape. It was fast, it would end in at most 7 minutes. If he succeeded, his master might wake up, obtain the thunder attribute talisman and thunder attribute mystic skill, then leave the secret realm and head to Cloud Heaven City to obtain the third stage of the pig-slaying swordsmanship. If he failed, he would die in the thunder attribute secret room. The three-headed giant had already said that this hell-level trial mission relied on wisdom and not mystic chi. Chapter 173. Yang Dingtian held the youngling sword in his hand, his mind suddenly flashed, and he suddenly had an idea. Maybe I know how to pass through these 5 lightning chambers, and how to complete this hell-level trial. Yang Dingtian's heartbeat suddenly sped up. "Big guy, I accept the hell-level trial mission," Yang Dingtian said. "Are you sure?" the three-headed giant asked. "I'm sure," Yang Dingtian said. "The hell-level special trial mission begins. Please complete the trial mission in half a quarter of an hour, and pass through the 5 lightning chambers," the three-headed giant said. Suddenly, the entire 5 elements hall suddenly lit up. Then, the other 4 doors were all extinguished, and became dark. Obviously, the other 4 doors were all closed, and only the lightning door suddenly lit up. "Please set off immediately. After half a quarter of an hour, we will erase all the extra traces in the secret realm," the three-headed giant warned. Yang Dingtian was shocked. In other words, if Yang Dingtian regretted it now, even if he stood still, the 5 elements hall secret realm would directly erase him after 7 minutes. Moreover, the doors of the other 4 doors were all closed. If Yang Dingtian wanted to leave the secret realm, he must go through the lightning chamber. At this time, there was no other choice. Yang Dingtian held the youngling sword, walked to the door of the lightning chamber, and pushed open the door. Inside, it was as black as hell, and as dangerous as hell. If he wanted to pass, he could only rely on wisdom, and not profound chi. 7 minutes, only 7 minutes. If he succeeded, his master would wake up and leave with an incomparably rich reward. If he failed, he would directly die inside, and completely turn into ashes. "Let's do it." Yang Dingtian took a deep breath and took a step towards the hell-like darkness of the thunder attribute secret room. He walked into the secret room. At the same time, the lightning door behind him suddenly extinguished and closed, and he could only move forward, not backward. After entering, Yang Dingtian quickly took out the original Night Owl giant sword from the space ring, and then quickly tied it together with the youngling sword. Suddenly, the 2 swords added up to a height of more than 3 meters. Kacha! Yang Dingtian used all his strength to forcefully insert the two bound swords into the ground. Then, he quickly changed into a pair of insulated shoes and insulated gloves. After doing all this, he held his breath and waited for the arrival of the destructive lightning. The three-headed giant said that this hell trial mission relied on intelligence and not profound chi. On Earth, in a spacious environment, lightning usually struck higher conductors. Therefore, Yang Dingtian trapped the Cho greatsword and the Night Owl greatsword together for more than 3 meters, and then inserted them into the ground to guide the lightning energy underground. Yang Dingtian's height was about 180 centimeters, which was far less than 3 meters, and he was wearing insulated shoes. According to the principles of Earth, lightning could not strike him. But without a doubt, this was not Earth. This was the primal chaos continent. The laws of science on Earth might not necessarily be realized here, so Yang Dingtian was risking his life. Inside the secret room, it was still completely dark and silent, only Yang Dingtian's heartbeat could be clearly heard. That destructive lightning seemed to be tormenting Yang Dingtian at this time, and did not come. Yang Dingtian stood there like a prisoner waiting to be sentenced. His heartbeat was getting faster and faster, as if it was about to jump out of his chest. That kind of suffocating feeling, as if every breath would be a burning pain. If the lightning god did not play according to the rules, then Yang Dingtian's ending would only be one, and that was to be completely annihilated. Kacha! Suddenly, there was a loud noise in the secret room. An incomparably huge lightning struck down, as if to tear the sky and earth, as if to topple the mountains and overturn the seas, as if to turn the sky and earth upside down. Like the aurora after the explosion of a nuclear bomb, it instantly made Yang Dingtian's eyes lose their vision. This lightning bolt was several times stronger than the lightning bolt that Yang Dingtian encountered when he first entered the Thunder Attribute secret room. If Yang Dingtian was struck by it, there would only be one outcome. He would turn into a pile of dust, and even the 9 Yang Mystic Meridians would be useless. Pa 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 pa, the destructive lightning bolts came one after another, as if there was no end to them. Fortunately, it was the same as what Yang Dingtian expected. All the lightning struck the two swords. Cho Youngling sword and Night Owl greatsword, after being struck by the huge lightning, became completely transparent, flowing with light and overflowing with colors, incomparably gorgeous. And Yang Dingtian stood behind, safe and sound, not a single trace of lightning struck his body. At this time, Yang Dingtian could not see anything at all, because the entire secret room was only extremely bright, extremely white. The lightning struck for half a minute without any intention of stopping, and the entire mission only had 7 minutes. Yang Dingtian decided not to wait for the lightning to stop, he must continue to move forward. Because he could not see anything at this time, Yang Dingtian stretched out his hand and carefully walked forward to grab Cho Youngling's sword. This required a huge amount of courage, because the sword was currently filled with astonishing electric current. It was an almost invincible electric current. Although Yang Dingtian was wearing insulating gloves, but this was not a completely insulated object. As long as a little electric current entered Yang Dingtian's body, then he would definitely die. Taking a deep breath, Yang Dingtian calmed down his violent heartbeat. After taking a few steps forward, Yang Dingtian stretched out his hand and grabbed Chow's greatsword. Pa! Yang Dingtian's body suddenly trembled, because Chow's greatsword was trembling with all its might, cheering. That's right, Yang Dingtian could feel that Cho was cheering, as if these countless frightening lightnings struck its body, making it very, very comfortable, making it itch to the point that its whole body trembled. Moreover, there was still not a trace of electric current flowing to Yang Dingtian's body, because all the electric current was transmitted to the ground. Really a little abnormal, Yang Dingtian said in his heart. Next, he used all his strength to push the two swords forward. Because, he must not let the two swords leave the ground, otherwise the electric current will be transmitted to Yang Dingtian's body. He must maintain the smoothness of the electric current flowing along the swords to the ground. In this way, Yang Dingtian pushed the two swords, drawing a deep crack on the ground, and kept walking forward. Walking in front of the second door, he stretched out his hand and pushed it, entering the second lightning door. Pa pa pa. Even more frightening lightning, it was as if a wall was striking down. Pa pa. Immediately after, there were two lightning bolts. However, it still did not pose any threat to Yang Dingtian, because all the lightning was still draped over the two swords. It's just that the momentum is too scary, it's like the end of the world. In this way, Yang Dingtian pushed the two swords and passed through the second secret room, the third secret room, the fourth secret room, and the fifth secret room. 3 minutes later, Yang Dingtian came to the sixth lightning door. He had completed the so-called Hell Mode trial mission, and he had done it in less than half of the 7 minutes he was given. As for the lightning in the secret room behind, Yang Dingtian didn't see it at all, because he simply closed his eyes directly, and his ears couldn't hear it at all, because it was completely deafening, causing his hearing to temporarily lose its function. After clearing the level, Yang Dingtian only had a very strange feeling, a little absurd, and a little lost. The previous trial completely tortured Yang Dingtian to death, leaving him with scars all over his body. He didn't know how many times he was on the verge of death, and how many times he was on the verge of death. And this lightning secret room was completely a super bug, it was completely a heaven-defying existence. But who would have thought that the so-called Hell Mode trial mission would be passed so easily? Not a single strand of hair was harmed, and it didn't even take much effort. Therefore, this hell-level trial mission can really only be described as abnormal. Those who don't know, even if they're Grandmaster-level powerhouses, I'm afraid there's only one result, and that is to turn into ashes. And those who know, even if they're just an initiate, can pass smoothly. Just as Yang Dingtian's hand was about to touch the sixth door, everything suddenly stopped. The endless flashes of lightning stopped, and the deafening sound stopped as well. Inside the secret room, light was restored. Yang Dingtian felt as though he was standing in the blue sky. Furthermore, it was a sky that had been washed by water. It was azure and pure without any impurities. It made one feel relaxed and happy. The trial should be over. Yang Dingtian immediately called out to his master Dongfang Minmi's soul in his mind, looking forward to hearing his master's voice again. However, the result disappointed him, his master still didn't have any response. Yang Dingtian's originally joyful heart gradually cooled down. Could it be because he wasn't struck by lightning, so he couldn't stimulate his master's soul to awaken? Trial taker, you have passed all the trial missions, the reward is on the door, please leave immediately, we are about to clear all the external traces in the secret realm, please leave immediately. Yang Dingtian was sad, suddenly the three-headed giant's voice sounded in his ear. Although 5 secret rooms were separated, the three-headed giant's voice still sounded in his ear. Yang Dingtian looked at the door and found that there were 2 things floating on it. One of them was a thunder attribute mystic talisman, which was a transparent jade token. When Yang Dingtian took it off, a weak electric current flashed across, and a very tiny lightning appeared in the jade token, which looked very scary. At this time, this talisman was still in its infancy, it looked fragile and cute. But when it grew to a certain extent, it would shock the whole world. So when Yang Dingtian held it in his hand, his heartbeat suddenly sped up, and he instantly had a feeling of being unable to breathe. This was a lightning talisman, in the whole world, there probably wouldn't be more than 5 of them, or even less. When it grew to a certain extent, it would completely become a bug-like existence. Placing the lightning talisman on his lips and kissing it, his lips suddenly became slightly numb, it was very ticklish. Like the youngling sword, this talisman also seemed to have a life of its own. When Yang Dingtian kissed it, it even released electricity to show him who was the boss, just like a baby waving its pink little fist. He carefully put the lightning talisman in his spatial ring, it was really too fragile right now. Next, it was this lightning scroll. This was a lightning talisman mystic skill. Yang Dingtian was now a 5-star Great Mystic Martial Master. It was time for him to learn mystic skills. Originally, he was still looking forward to his first mystic skills secret manual, because he was currently wandering, he couldn't obtain a powerful and mysterious mystic skills secret manual. There were many powerful mystic skills secret manuals in Cloud Heaven City's Hidden Technique Pavilion, but now, they didn't belong to Yang Dingtian. But he didn't expect that the first mystic skills secret manual Yang Dingtian obtained would be such a heaven-defying lightning talisman mystic skill. In this world, people who possessed lightning talisman mystic skills were probably rarer than lightning talisman beasts. No matter where, as long as a lightning talisman mystic skill was used, no matter how powerful it was enough to shock everyone. Yang Dingtian held the mystic skill scroll. He was instantly tempted. He wanted to immediately inject his mystic chi to learn it. But he quickly gave up on this tempting idea, because the secret realm was about to be cleared, to remove all traces left behind by outsiders. If he were to be swept away by the secret realm while he was learning, then he would completely disappear from this world. There would be no reason to talk to the secret realm. Placing the lightning talisman mystic skill secret manual in his bosom, Yang Dingtian pushed open the door in front of him. Outside was the bottom of the sea. The dark blue seawater rippled. Countless underwater creatures saw the light here and swam over curiously. This was the real deep sea. It was at least tens of thousands of meters deep. There might not be such a deep sea on Earth. After staying here for more than 100 days, he was finally going to leave. Chapter 174. After cultivating here for more than 100 days and breaking through 20 levels, he was finally going to leave. Yang Dingtian actually had a desire to shout out loud. But he held it in. Now was not the time to shout out loud. Putting the Night Owl Greatsword and Cho Youngling Sword into the spatial ring, Yang Dingtian held his breath and walked out directly. Other than the reward, the trial taker is not allowed to take anything from the secret realm, otherwise, you will be killed immediately. Suddenly, the three-headed giant's voice rang in Yang Dingtian's ears. The trial taker's entire body, from the inside out, will be thoroughly checked. The three-headed giant continued. Yang Dingtian's heart immediately jumped wildly. He had brought something out. It was the holy water on the three-headed giant's chest. When he was heavily injured, he put it into the spatial ring several times, filling up a few kilograms. Because he wanted to heal Yinyan's damaged profound veins. Previously, the three-headed giant did not seem to notice anything, but now he actually wanted to check. If it was stored in the spatial ring, would it be found out? If it was found out, then it would really be over. He would definitely be killed without any discussion. But now he had no other choice. He could not confess to the three-headed giant and hand over the holy water, right? Since Yang Dingtian had already done so, then no matter what the consequences were, he would accept it. A ray of light suddenly shot onto Yang Dingtian's body, then passed through his entire body inch by inch. From top to bottom, from inside to outside. Finally, that ray of green light stopped on Yang Dingtian's finger, where the spatial ring was. Instantly, Yang Dingtian almost suffocated. After a full 3 minutes, that ray of light finally left the position of Yang Dingtian's finger. During this time, Yang Dingtian's heart was really about to jump out. There are no traces of the secret realm inside or outside your body, but there are abnormal energy waves. Profound energy is unable to identify them. There is no limit to what you can do. The trial taker can leave. The three-headed giant's voice rang in his ears. Immediately, Yang Dingtian heaved a long sigh of relief and rushed out of the 6th door, entering the icy cold sea and leaving the 5 elements secret realm. Wah! So uncomfortable. The moment he stepped out of the door, Yang Dingtian instantly felt an incomparably huge pressure. It was as if his internal organs were about to be squeezed out, his bones were about to break, and all his blood vessels were about to shatter. They were at the bottom of the sea, tens of thousands of meters deep. The pressure of the seawater was astonishing. Yang Dingtian was already mentally prepared, but he still did not expect the pressure to be so terrifying. Circulating all the profound qi in his body, Yang Dingtian covered his entire body from top to bottom to resist the strong pressure. Yang Dingtian quickly floated up. This tens of thousands of meters deep sea was simply too terrifying. Staying here for even a second was incomparably painful. At the same time, the door to the five elements mystery realm closed, and the seabed became incomparably dark. The entire five elements hall was like a huge mountain lying at the bottom of the sea. Splash! Yang Dingtian suddenly rushed out of the sea. After a full 10 minutes, Yang Dingtian floated up from the bottom of the sea to the surface of the sea. Even though he was completely capable of not breathing for more than half an hour, he still took deep breaths and enjoyed the beauty of the air. Not far ahead was the northern beach of the West Arrival Island, and further ahead was a dense forest. Yang Dingtian swam to the beach and came to the dense forest. First, he picked a dozen edible wild fruits and ate heartily. In the past 3 months in the secret realm, Yang Dingtian relied on eating medicinal pills to maintain his vitality. Although it was better for his body, Yang Dingtian still missed normal food. Unfortunately, there was no wine or meat on the island. Otherwise, it would be even better. After eating a dozen fruits, he immediately walked to the east of the West Arrival Island. This was because his boat was hidden on the eastern beach of the West Arrival Island. In less than half an hour, Yang Dingtian had already arrived at the eastern beach. When he came, he hid the boat behind a huge rock and buried it with sand. But now, Yang Dingtian only saw a pile of wood fragments. The boat that Yang Dingtian hid here was smashed into pieces by someone. It was definitely not a strong wind or a wave. It was done by a human. Because the entire boat had been turned into powder-like fragments. It was an extremely powerful expert who smashed the boat into fine powder with a single palm. There was no one else on this island, and who could do this? It was undoubtedly the demonic woman, Dugu Fengwu. Yang Dingtian was so angry that his hair stood on end. This ruthless and heartless demonic woman even wanted to kill Yang Dingtian in the secret realm. Moreover, she wanted to kill him after raping him. Now, she actually destroyed Yang Dingtian's boat. This place was 1 to 2,000 miles away from land. Without a boat, how was Yang Dingtian going to leave? He couldn't possibly swim over. An absolute expert like Dugu Fengwu might be able to use mystic qi to cross 2,000 miles of sea, but it would cause great damage to her body. Therefore, without a boat, Yang Dingtian wouldn't be able to leave. However, this place was only 2,000 miles away from land, and there would be boats passing by every once in a while. It was just that his journey to Cloud Heaven City would be delayed for a few days. But it was useless to be anxious now. He could only pray that there would be a boat passing by soon. Moreover, Yang Dingtian had a Thunder Mystic Skill Scroll in his hands, and he could make use of this time to learn it. However, he wouldn't learn the Thunder Mystic Skill today. He needed to have a good sleep. After all, Yang Dingtian didn't have much time to sleep for the past 3 months. He was either fighting with the assassins in the secret room, dying in the center of the main hall while absorbing mystic qi, or recuperating in the sacred pond in the chest of the three-headed giant. This time, Yang Dingtian wanted to have a good sleep. He found a big tree and built a bed on it. He then laid down comfortably on it and fell asleep in a short while. Of course, even if he was sleeping, Yang Dingtian would still be able to wake up immediately if there was any danger. However, West Arrival Island was too quiet. Other than the sound of the waves, there was nothing else. There wasn't even a wild beast. Therefore, Yang Dingtian had the best sleep ever since he came to Primal Chaos Continent. When he woke up the next day, Yang Dingtian found a pool to take a bath and changed into clean clothes. Finally, he found an empty space under a tree and took out the Thunder Mystic Skill Scroll. Looking at this Thunder Mystic Skill Scroll, Yang Dingtian couldn't help but become nervous. This was truly a 1 in a billion Mystic Skill Scroll, and it was the highest reward in the 5 Elements Hall's secret realm. Dugu Fengwu was the princess of evil ways, but she didn't have any thunder mystic skills. If this scroll of Yang Dingtian's was made public, it would immediately cause a commotion in the world. If it appeared in any auction house, there would be countless sects that would go crazy for it and give it everything they had. Mystic skill scrolls were different from martial skill scrolls. A martial skill scroll could allow countless people to learn it. Of course, Yang Dingtian's pig-slaying sword art was an exception. A mystic skill scroll could only allow one person to learn it. After one person learned it, the second person wouldn't be able to use it even if they obtained it. All of the profound skill secret manuals were left behind from the ancient times. Even though new profound skill secret manuals had been unearthed for the past 1,000 years, the number of profound skill secret manuals that had been unearthed a few hundred years ago had dwindled. Therefore, it could be said that every mystic skill scroll that was learned was one less scroll. Every mystic skill scroll was extremely precious, not to mention this thunder mystic skill scroll. Sitting on the empty space, Yang Dingtian slowly closed his eyes and held the thunder mystic skill scroll with both his hands. It was the same as martial skill scrolls. If he wanted to learn a mystic skill scroll, he just had to input his mystic chi into the scroll. Therefore, Yang Dingtian only needed to input his mystic chi and he would be able to enter the world of the scroll. However, he didn't know if he could learn it because he didn't know if he had the thunder attribute talent in his body. A person's mystic veins were divided into yin and yang. When a great mystic martial master wanted to learn a mystic skill, it would give birth to ice, fire, metal, wind, and lightning. Ice attribute was the established talent of the yin profound veins. Fire attribute was the established talent of the yang profound veins. This was something that couldn't be changed. Then, a portion of the yang profound veins would have the metal attribute talent, and a portion of the yin profound veins would have the wind attribute talent. However, the thunder attribute talent wasn't divided into yin and yang. No matter if it was the yang profound veins or the yin profound veins, it could give birth to the thunder attribute talent. However, this kind of person was less than 1 in 10 million. Yang Dingtian had the 9 yang profound veins, but the probability of him having the thunder attribute talent was too low. Yang Dingtian didn't dare to have the extravagant hope that he had the thunder attribute talent. Now that he had the thunder attribute talisman, even if he didn't have the thunder attribute talent, he could still use the thunder attribute talisman in the future. However, the growth of the thunder attribute talisman required a very long time. Moreover, the power of the talisman's attack was not as strong as his own thunder attribute talent. Moreover, if Yang Dingtian had the thunder attribute talent and used the thunder attribute talisman, the effect of the attack could be stacked and the lethality would definitely be unparalleled. Yang Dingtian slowly closed his eyes and thought, if I could have the thunder attribute talent, then it would be a blessing from the heavens. If I don't have it, then it doesn't matter. Yang Dingtian took a dozen deep breaths before he could barely suppress his nervous and excited emotions. After all, this was the first profound skill he learned. After his emotions calmed down and his heartbeat returned to normal, Yang Dingtian slowly inserted a strand of mystic chi into the thunder attribute profound skill scroll. Immediately, the thunder attribute profound skill scroll lit up and emitted a faint blue light. Then, an incomparably complicated mystic chi path appeared on the scroll bit by bit. Yang Dingtian's mystic chi followed this path and continuously spread forward. The mystic chi advanced inch by inch. This scroll looked to be only 3 feet long, but the mystic chi scroll inside was tens of thousands of meters long. Layer upon layer, winding and graceful, it was completely the world's most complicated and meticulous path, somewhat similar to the integrated circuits of the Earth era. All the mystic chi in Yang Dingtian's chi had to go through the path on the scroll. After being transformed by the scroll, it would return to his body with the special memories in the scroll. Time passed by minute. Yang Dingtian's mystic chi was injected into the scroll bit by bit. Chapter 175. Time trickled by, and Yang Dingtian's profound energy was injected into the secret scroll bit by bit. 10% progress, 20%, 30%. After a full 5 hours, Yang Dingtian's profound energy finally completed all the profound energy routes on the secret scroll. Swoosh. Then, all the profound energy returned to Yang Dingtian's body. Boom. A blue flame suddenly rose from the secret scroll, and then the entire secret scroll turned into ashes. Clap clap clap, Yang Dingtian's mind suddenly lit up with a few bolts of lightning, and then he instantly entered the world of thunder attribute profound skills. Devil Sky Split. This thunder attribute profound skill was called Devil Sky Split, and it was divided into 6 levels. First level, Mountain Split. Second level, River Split. Third level, Earth Split. Fourth level, Ocean Split. Fifth level, Heaven Split. The 6th level was Devil Sky Split, and it was also the highest level of this thunder attribute profound skill. Obviously, its power was also extremely tyrannical. At this moment, Yang Dingtian had only spent 5 hours learning the first level, Mountain Split. Clap 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 clap, in the completely dark world, Yang Dingtian's consciousness stood between heaven and earth. Countless bolts of lightning struck down, and an incomparably powerful electric current drilled into his body. Of course, this was all an illusion. In reality, the profound energy returned from the secret scroll to his body, and started to transform Yang Dingtian's profound veins and body. If Yang Dingtian's profound veins had thunder attribute innate talent, then it would be activated by this profound energy. Of course, if Yang Dingtian didn't have thunder attribute innate talent, then it would all be a waste of effort. Clap clap clap. Countless bolts of lightning became thicker and thicker, and crazily struck Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingtian's profound veins swelled inch by inch, changed color, and then returned to normal inch by inch. This process was extremely painful, and also extremely dangerous. If the profound veins' innate talent was not enough, then it was very possible that the profound veins would directly explode, and the entire person would explode and die. So for martial artists with low innate talent, even if they obtained a high-grade profound skill scroll, it would be useless. Not only would they not be able to learn it, they would even lose their lives. After another 5 hours, Yang Dingtian's body gradually returned to normal. Only then did that terrifying blue color gradually fade away. Yang Dingtian slowly opened his eyes. At this moment, his surroundings were already dark. The sky was already dark. Learning this thunder attribute profound skill actually took an entire day. Whether or not he had lightning talent would depend on this moment. Yang Dingtian stared at the small tree in front of him. Yang Dingtian started to condense all the profound energy in his body and started to prepare the lightning attribute profound skill, Mountain Split. If he had lightning talent, he would be able to strike down a bolt of lightning. The higher one's lightning talent was, the stronger the lightning would be, and the more powerful it would be. If he didn't have lightning talent, then of course he wouldn't have any reaction. Yang Dingtian kept brewing. Profound skills and martial skills were different. Martial skills could be released in an instant, but profound skills required a large amount of profound chi, which required time. 5 seconds. 10 seconds. 15 seconds. Finally, Yang Dingtian's profound chi, which was sufficient to release the lightning attribute profound skill, Mountain Split, once, circulated rapidly in his entire body's profound veins. Yang Dingtian could release it at any time. Whether or not he had lightning talent, would depend on this moment. Mountain Split. Yang Dingtian fiercely roared. The profound chi energy that he had been brewing for 15 seconds suddenly exploded out. Pa! There wasn't much suspense left. A bolt of lightning instantly shot out from Yang Dingtian's palm. Bang! The small tree in front of him was directly split into 2 halves and turned into a pile of charcoal, which was currently burning fiercely. Ah! Yang Dingtian instantly let out a cry of ecstasy as he looked at his hands in disbelief. I really have a lightning talent, I actually have a lightning talent. A lightning talent that is 1 in a million, 1 in 10 million. Furthermore, the first time he used a lightning attribute profound skill, he was able to directly destroy a small tree that was as thick as a bowl. It could be seen that his lightning attribute talent was extremely high. The heavens really favored him too much. Yang Dingtian really looked at the small tree in front of him in disbelief. Lightning attribute profound skill, this world's most precious profound skill, the most difficult profound skill to guard against. For the other 4 attribute profound skills, ice and fire countered each other, wind and metal countered each other. But for lightning attribute profound skills, there was completely no counter to them. After his ecstasy, Yang Dingtian realized that his profound qi had actually been completely depleted. This was too shocking. The profound qi in his entire body was actually only enough to release mountain split. The profound qi in his entire body was actually only enough to split a small tree. This was obviously a huge waste of profound qi. Obviously, this was only the first level mountain split, which was why there was such a huge waste of profound qi. So, Yang Dingtian still had to continue comprehending and grasp the higher level mountain split. This way, the power would be greater and the profound qi consumed would be lesser. But how should he comprehend it? He couldn't possibly release mountain split again and again, right? Yang Dingtian's profound qi wasn't enough for such a waste. But no matter what, he still had to first absorb profound qi and replenish the profound qi in his qi si. Otherwise, it would be troublesome if he met with any enemies. Instantly, Yang Dingtian sat by the side of the pool and started to absorb profound qi. Of course, the profound qi that Yang Dingtian was absorbing now was for battle and didn't need to be completely refined. So he only needed 1 day and 1 night to fill his entire qi si and profound meridians. But this kind of profound qi that was filled with impurities could only be used for battle and couldn't be used to break through qi si. In order to break through qi si, one had to completely refine and purify profound qi. The reason why 5 Elements Hall was so powerful was because the profound qi there was dense and pure. There was no need to refine it and it could be used to break through qi si. Moreover, if the profound qi that was filled with impurities stayed in the body for a long time, it would cause the profound meridians to accumulate. Then, the speed of profound qi breakthrough would become slower and slower until it completely stopped. One would need to undergo marrow and meridians cleansing to make the profound meridians unobstructed again. Of course, Master Dongfang Minmi had already cleansed Yang Dingtian's marrow and meridians to the 3rd level in this world of ice and snow. Calculating the time, Yang Dingtian also needed to undergo a new round of marrow and meridians cleansing. Otherwise, it might become difficult for Yang Dingtian to break through to the martial profound realm. Yang Dingtian gradually sank into the world of profound qi absorption. His entire body and mind sunk into complete silence. Child. Suddenly, an incomparably familiar and long-lost voice sounded in Yang Dingtian's mind. Immediately, Yang Dingtian's body trembled and he immediately opened his eyes. He didn't dare to believe that he heard this voice. Then, he immediately gathered all of his attention, afraid that the call he heard just now was an illusion. Master, is that you? Yang Dingtian asked with a trembling voice. It's me. Dongfang Minmi said, it's been hard on you during this period of time. Immediately, Yang Dingtian's eyes became hot and tears almost gushed out. He finally heard his master Dongfang Minmi's voice again. It had already been 8 months. Last time, in order to control that brutal sword spirit, my soul was almost scattered. I spent a very long time gradually gathering my shattered consciousness bit by bit. However, due to my exhaustion, I directly fell into a deep sleep. Today, after you learned the Thunder Profound skill, it stimulated me to wake up. Dongfang Minmi said, what exactly happened during the period of time I was asleep? You actually learned the Thunder Profound skill? Then, Dongfang Minmi's voice also became somewhat trembling as he said, you're actually already a 5-star Great Profound Martial Master. How long have I been asleep? Almost 8 months, master. Yang Dingtian said. In 8 months, you broke through 20 levels and became a 5-star great profound martial master? Dongfang Minmi said in disbelief, how did you do it? Yang Dingtian, after I finished forging the youngling sword in the fire cloud devil cave, I fell from the top quality earth fire disc and discovered a 5 elements hall's secret realm. In there, I went from a 5-star profound martial master to a 5-star great profound martial master in 98 days. Furthermore, after passing its hell level trial, I obtained a Thunder Profound Talisman and this Thunder Profound Skill Scroll. Thunder Profound Skill, the first profound skill you learned was actually the 1 in a billion Thunder Profound Skill. Dongfang Minmi said, child, now I really suspect that you were sent by the heavens. Otherwise, for you to be so lucky, even your master can't help but be a little jealous. After joking around, Dongfang Minmi said, child, tell me everything that happened during the few months I was asleep. Yes. Yang Dingtian, during the trial by duel in Cloud Heaven City, after I defeated Qin Xiaobai, I was forced by Shiman Ju to once again use the brutal sword spirit in the Night Owl Greatsword. It almost caused Master's soul to scatter and you fell into a deep sleep. And I almost died from the backlash of the sword spirit. It was Yan Yan who went through untold hardships to bring me to the Netherworld Sea. Following that, Yang Dingtian told Dongfang Minmi everything that happened in the past 8 months. After talking for half an hour, Yang Dingtian finally finished telling him everything. Child, it's really been hard on you. Yan Yan is a good child, much better than Dongfang Bingling. She's the most suitable wife for you. Dongfang Minmi said, Master will accompany you through the following difficulties. Good. Yang Dingtian's heart was suddenly filled with excitement. Child, what do you plan to do next? Dongfang Minmi asked. Yang Dingtian, my ship was destroyed by the demonic woman Dugu Fengwu, so I will wait for a ship to pass by and bring me to the northwest continent. Then, I will think of a way to go to Cloud Heaven City to obtain the 3rd rank of the pig-slaying sword art. I will strive to break through to the martial mystic realm within a month. Then, I will look for the heaven and earth mystic flame. There are still 8 months before the martial arts contest in Cloud Heaven City. Shiman Ju will be my greatest opponent. I have to at least break through to the advanced martial ancestor realm before I can fight with him. Learning the 3rd rank of the pig-slaying sword art and refining the heaven and earth mystic flame are my 2 greatest chances to break through. Child, how do you plan to go to Cloud Heaven City to obtain the 3rd rank of the pig-slaying sword art? Dongfang Minmi asked. Yang Dingtian went silent for a moment and said, I plan to go to Cloud Heaven City as a hidden sect disciple, nameless, and directly ask for the 3rd rank of the pig-slaying sword art. Also, I don't know if Sister Ningning fell into the hands of Yang Yan and the others. I want to see what happened to her. Chapter 176. After Dongfang Minmi finished listening, his voice started to tremble. Child, what you're doing is very, very crazy, and it might bring about terrible consequences, Dongfang Minmi said. Impersonating a hidden sect disciple is perhaps the biggest crime in this world. You don't understand the hidden sect. It has a supreme position in this world. Everyone says that there are 3 sects in the world, and our Yin-Yang school, Mystic Sky sect, and the hidden sect are on the same level. But compared to the hidden sect, we are nothing. Dongfang Minmi said in a serious tone, in short, the consequences of impersonating a hidden sect disciple might be many times more dangerous and severe than you think. Once you are exposed, you will immediately face the pursuit of the entire world. What if there are really disciples of the hidden sect walking around the world? Even if you aren't exposed, you will be judged and killed by the hidden sect. No one in the world can escape from the hidden sect's judgment. Yang Dingtian said, but, I can't think of a better idea. Furthermore, under Dugu Fengwu's coercion, I have already impersonated a hidden sect disciple once. Let's take our time. Dongfang Minmi said, anyway, there are still a few days before we reach Cloud Heaven City. And, at least we have to think of a way to leave this West Arrival Island. Yang Dingtian replied. Subsequently, he recalled the most important thing and said, Master, I have obtained half a map. I suspect that it is the map of the heaven and earth mystic flame. However, I can't understand the words on it. Can you understand it? I can understand 90% of the words in this world, Dongfang Minmi said. Yang Dingtian quickly took out the half map that Ning Ro gave him from his spatial ring and looked at it in front of him. He then transmitted it to his master in his mind. Dongfang Minmi looked at it for a few minutes. His breathing became faster and faster, and his emotions became more and more agitated. Of course, he was just a divine sense and didn't need to breathe, but he still instinctively retained his original habits. Kid, the good news is that this is definitely the map of the heaven and earth mystic flame, Dongfang Minmi said. Really? Yang Dingtian was extremely excited. Originally, he only suspected that this was the map of the heaven and earth level mystic flame. Now that his master, Dongfang Minmi, had confirmed it, how could he not be pleasantly surprised? If one were to say that profound skill was the symbol of an expert, then, the heaven and earth obsidian flame was the symbol of a top expert. Almost all the martial artists in this world could only refine the mystic fire of the demonic beasts into their own heart fire. There were no more than 10 people in the entire world who could refine the heaven and earth obsidian flame into their own heart flame. They were the overlords of a region, the strongest in the universe. Yin-Yang School's principal, Dongfang Minmi, Black Heaven Sect's principal, Zhu Qingzhu, Cloud Heaven City's principal, Shimen Wuya, Northwest Qin City's principal, Qin Wanqiu, Temple of Blood's principal, Dugu Shao, and so on. Of course, if the heaven and earth mystic flame was the symbol of a top expert, then there was no doubt that the sword soul was the symbol of a top expert. It was one grade higher than the heaven and earth mystic flame. In the entire world, only Dongfang Minmi, Shimen Wuya, and the Hidden Sect master were known to have cultivated the sword soul. Now that Dongfang Minmi and Shimen Wuya were no longer around, there was only the Hidden sect master left. And the Hidden sect master had already been in seclusion for 200 years. In other words, in the current world, there was no one who truly possessed a powerful sword soul. And there were only 3 people who were known to be preparing to cultivate the sword soul: Dugu Fengwu, Dongfang Bingling, and Yang Dingtian. Even Qin Huayu had never heard of him wanting to cultivate the sword soul. Previously, even with Yanyan's great talent, Shimen Wuya wasn't prepared to cultivate the sword soul. And to cultivate the sword soul, the most important thing was the heaven and earth mystic flame. But there's still a piece of bad news. Dongfang Minmi said, I know 90% of the words in this world, and the words on this scroll are precisely in the 10% that I don't know. After hearing his master's words, Yang Dingtian's heart instantly turned cold. Dongfang Minmi was practically the most knowledgeable person in the world. If even he couldn't recognize the words on this scroll, who else could? Following that, Dongfang Minmi said, although I don't recognize the words on this scroll, I know which race's words are from. What race? Yang Dingtian quickly asked. Foxman race. Dongfang Minmi said. Yang Dingtian was startled and instantly recalled the 1,000-year black fox demon that was sealed in the Cloud Heaven City's dungeon. They aren't humans? Yang Dingtian asked. Half human, half demonic beast, so they are called the half-human race. Dongfang Minmi said, their bloodline talent isn't as strong as demonic beasts, but they are smarter than demonic beasts. Their Xian Meridian's talent is higher than humans, but they don't have as advanced a martial arts civilization as humans. Furthermore, their population is only 1/10 of that of humans, and they are divided into hundreds of races with endless internal conflicts. Therefore, even though they have their own civilized country that occupies the Dongli continent, they haven't been a threat to human civilization for thousands of years. Yang Dingtian was instantly astonished. He didn't think that there would be such a race in this world, half human, half demonic beast. Master, there's a 1,000-year black-tail fox sealed in the Cloud Heaven City's dungeon. Would she be able to recognize the words on this scroll? Yang Dingtian asked. Very likely. Dongfang Minmi said, although Demon is a demonic beast, she is still a member of the Foxman race. She should be able to recognize the Foxman race's words. If that's the case, then I really have to make a trip to Cloud Heaven City. Yang Dingtian said. But, the consequences of impersonating a hidden sect disciple are very serious. Dongfang Minmi said, but at this moment, Demon might really be the only one who can recognize the words on this scroll. Master, there must be a way to get there. Anyway, we are still 8,000 miles away from Cloud Heaven City. Let's get close to Cloud Heaven City first, then we can decide on how to enter Cloud Heaven City. Yang Dingtian said. That's the only way. Dongfang Minmi said. Oh right, Master, there's one more thing. Yang Dingtian said, when I used the Thunder Attribute Mystic Skill, Mountain Split, not only did I need to channel my Xian Qi for 15 seconds, but I also only have enough Xian Qi to use it once. It can be seen that the level of the Mountain Split is still very low. Its power isn't strong, and it wastes a huge amount of Xian Qi. Then, is there any way to raise the level of the Mountain Split so that it can use less Xian Qi to unleash more destructive power? Ha! Dongfang Minmi suddenly laughed. Poor child, at such an important moment like learning a mystic skill for the first time, you actually didn't have a teacher by your side to guide you. This is all my fault. That's right, Yang Dingtian really didn't know anything about learning mystic skills. The only thing he knew was to enter the scroll and start learning. After learning, he would channel the mystic skill and use it to attack. As for how to raise the level of the mystic skill, he really didn't know at all. If you want to raise the level of the mystic skill, you need mental strength. Dongfang Minmi said, martial skills only require brute force and mystic skill to control. Mystic skills are a higher level and more complex attack method, so they require mental strength to control. The stronger the mental strength, the faster the level of the mystic skill. The more powerful the mystic skill, the more powerful the mystic skill will be, and the less Xian Qi it will consume. Speaking of mental strength, Yang Dingtian immediately thought of Sister Ningning. She was actually able to use a mystic skill to control 4 experts so that they couldn't move. Without a doubt, her mental strength talent was unparalleled. Then how do I raise my mental strength? Yang Dingtian asked. Learn a mental scroll, then enter meditation. Dongfang Minmi said, unfortunately, there aren't any mental scrolls on this deserted island. Is mental talent very rare? Yang Dingtian asked. Everyone has mental talent, it's just that everyone has different levels. Dongfang Minmi said, Shiman Ningning, she has the highest mental talent I've ever seen. It's unprecedentedly high. Yang Dingtian continued to ask, then is the mental scroll very precious? Many. Dongfang Minmi said, it's everywhere. You can buy a high-level one with money. Yang Dingtian thought that it made sense. After all, there were many people in this world who wanted to cultivate mystic skills. To cultivate mystic skills, one must cultivate mental strength. Therefore, mental scrolls were definitely not very rare. Speaking of mental scrolls, Yang Dingtian suddenly remembered that there were many things in the space ring that Sister Ningning gave him. However, Yang Dingtian felt that he was only borrowing the space ring. The things inside were most likely Sister Ningning's personal belongings. Although their relationship was already very close, Yang Dingtian still felt that he didn't put in all his effort to look through these things. Now that he thought about it, there were indeed many scrolls in the space ring. Perhaps there were mental scrolls inside. Suddenly, Yang Dingtian couldn't help but explore the space ring. Sure enough, there were several scrolls inside. There was a golden scroll, a black scroll, 2 red scrolls, 3 blue scrolls, 5 white scrolls, and 9 gray scrolls. In the corner of the space ring, there was also a colorless scroll. Sister Ningning's mystic chi seemed to be unable to be used as an attack, so these should all be mental scrolls. Generally speaking, the grade of a secret scroll was related to its color. The lowest grade was a mixed color, followed by gray, followed by white, blue, red, black, and finally gold. The highest grade was colorless. Colorless mental scrolls were the 9th grade, which was the highest grade of mental scrolls in the world. Yang Dingtian instinctively wanted to take the highest grade colorless scroll, but he remembered that these secret scrolls were all one-time use. After learning them, they would be destroyed. Sister Ningning had placed these scrolls here. It was obvious that she hadn't learned them yet. This colorless scroll was so precious. How could he learn it? He had to leave it for Sister Ningning. Taking this opportunity, Ang Dingtian's gaze landed on the golden scroll. He was still reluctant to learn it. Furthermore, he didn't have such a high spiritual talent. It might be a waste to give him a spiritual scroll that was too high in grade. There was only one black scroll. Yang Dingtian also couldn't bear to learn it. For a moment, Yang Dingtian didn't know which scroll to choose. Master, which scroll should I choose? Yang Dingtian summoned Dongfang Minmi's consciousness in his mind. Chapter 177. Silly child, some of these are spirit scrolls, and some are spirit profound skill manuals. Spirit scrolls are not rare, but the rarity of spirit profound skill manuals is second only to thunder attribute manuals. Dongfang Minmi suddenly said, "What you need to learn now is only the spirit scrolls." Ah. Yang Dingtian said embarrassedly, "Then master, which one of these is a spirit profound skill manual?" Colorless, gold, and black are all spirit profound skill manuals. The left of the red scroll is a profound skill manual, and the right is a meditation scroll. Dongfang Minmi said with a sigh, "Now I'm even more curious about Shimen Ningning's identity." Each of these 3 spirit profound skill manuals is priceless and extremely rare. Even the lowest level black profound skill manual would cause a sensation. Now, he actually has 3 scrolls, and even the highest level colorless profound skill scroll. Other than these, they are all spirit scrolls, right? Is there any difference between the level of spirit scrolls? Yang Dingtian asked. Spirit scroll is to cultivate spirit force. This is different from profound chi martial techniques. There is no concept of space and time at all. Dongfang Minmi said, "The so-called spirit scroll is to lead you into a deep dream. In the dream, time and space can be unlimited. In reality, 2 hours can be a few days in the dream, or a few months, or even longer. The higher the level of the scroll, the deeper the meditation dream. If your talent is not enough, your spirit will either be expelled directly, or you will be completely lost in meditation and will never be able to wake up. Then wouldn't it be very dangerous to comprehend a high-level spirit scroll?" Yang Dingtian said. "It is very dangerous for others, but it doesn't matter to you." Dongfang Minmi said, "Because with my consciousness, it is absolutely impossible for you to be lost. I can wake you up at any time. Then I will choose the red spirit scroll." Yang Dingtian said. Thus, Yang Dingtian took out the red spirit scroll on the right and slowly opened it. The mind scroll was different from all the other secret manuals. It was like a surging image, a combination of impressionism and ink painting. It was mysterious and deep. Countless images changed, as if there was a complete world inside. After Yang Dingtian opened the scroll, he was about to input a strand of profound chi to study it. Child, the key to cultivating the psychic scroll is to meditate at a deeper level. Therefore, it is best to be in an absolutely quiet, cold, and secluded environment. Meditating in such a way will yield twice the results with half the effort, Dongfang Minmi said. Yang Dingtian was stunned. He didn't expect there to be such a thing. However, at this moment, he just happened to be at the edge of a pool, so he could meditate and cultivate in the depths of the pool. Yang Dingtian took a qi concentration pill. This way, he would not need to breathe for 3 days and 3 nights. Then, with the scroll in hand, he jumped into the pool. Suddenly, a cold and gloomy aura enveloped his entire body. The aura of his entire body seemed to condense. The cold water completely isolated Yang Dingtian's body from the outside world. It was indeed a good place to meditate. This pool was about a dozen meters deep, and it was the best place to use for meditation. Opening the mind scroll, Yang Dingtian slowly inserted a strand of profound qi. Suddenly, the world of the scroll in his hand seemed to suddenly expand. Then, it produced a very strong suction force, sucking Yang Dingtian's soul in. Yang Dingtian's spiritual consciousness seemed to have entered a space-time tunnel. It shuttled quickly, and the scenery in front of him constantly changed. After a few minutes, his eyes suddenly lit up. The space-time shuttling stopped. Yang Dingtian found himself in a strange but real environment. It was incomparably real. It was as if every detail was real. 6th level mind scroll, life blurred. This was a magnificent palace. It was incomparably huge, incomparably magnificent, and incomparably oppressive. Because, this was an underground palace. At this moment, Yang Dingtian was in the deepest part of the palace. In front of him was a stunning beauty wearing palace attire. Hello, trial taker. Welcome to the Hell Palace. However, this palace has sunk into the ground for 10,000 years. Soon, a peerless demon will be born in this palace and completely destroy everyone in this palace. Therefore, you must escape immediately. The beauty in palace attire said, the first floor of the underground palace is 3,800 mu. There are 19,000 rooms and 39,000 paths. However, there is only one path to leave. The scenery on the path is almost exactly the same. There are only very slight differences. You only have 4 hours to escape from the first floor. This was a typical maze scroll. There were many types of mind scrolls. There were escape scrolls, maze scrolls, chess scrolls, perception scrolls, and so on. But without exception, they were all to train one's spiritual power. In the meditation dream, after time was magnified several times, one could train one's spiritual power in the world of these scrolls. The 6th level mind scrolls in this world were all left behind from the ancient world. The 6th level mind scrolls were constructed by this world's mind masters. And the mind scroll that Yang Dingtian was cultivating was undoubtedly left behind from the ancient world. Because this world's mind masters were still unable to construct this huge and complex world. Spiritual power was divided into static power, cohesive power, computing power, and perception power. Static power was how to calm down. Cohesive power was how to concentrate one's consciousness. Then, computing power and perception power were the direct manifestations of spiritual power. How to make mystic skills faster, more powerful, and consume less mystic chi required perception power. How to make countless mystic chi construct an incomparably complex attack pattern required strong perception power to sense more mystic chi and control more mystic chi. This was like a reward for arranging troops and controlling the army to fight. A brilliant general could command the army like an arm, so 1,000 soldiers could win a battle. A less brilliant general would need 10,000 or 20,000. In fact, most of the soldiers were fishing in troubled waters, making up the numbers or sacrificing themselves in vain. The maze illusion could train people's cohesive power and computing power. After listening to the beauty in palace attire, Yang Dingtian immediately set off, preparing to escape from the underground palace. In the illusion, he only had 4 hours to escape from the palace. This was the first layer of the illusion, so 4 hours was equivalent to 2 hours in reality. Yang Dingtian walked less than 10 meters forward, and 3 roads appeared in front of him, all of which were exactly the same. He chose the first road on the left, and walked less than 20 meters forward. There was another set of forks in front of him. This time, there were 4 roads, and Yang Dingtian still chose the first one on the left. In this way, Yang Dingtian didn't know how many roads he walked, and in less than half an hour, he found himself back at the starting point. There was no doubt that the first escape failed. The second time, Yang Dingtian set off again, and after about 40 minutes, he turned back to the starting point. The third time, Yang Dingtian no longer remembered to set off, because walking blindly like this, he couldn't escape from the palace for a lifetime. He had to remember the logical relationship between each road. Suddenly, Yang Dingtian's walking speed slowed down. Because every 10 meters he walked, there was more data to remember in his mind. When Yang Dingtian walked 300 meters, there were more than 100 pieces of data in his mind that were full of complicated logical relationships. This was a great test of the depth and breadth of the brain. Once he completely escaped from the underground palace, his brain could almost remember thousands of pieces of data at the same time, and he could clearly understand the logical relationships between them. By then, his mental strength would naturally be greatly improved. This could originally be done in the real world, but the real world relied on imagination, and it was really difficult to enter such a profound world. Moreover, there wasn't so much time in the real world. When he walked 300 meters, Yang Dingtian had to remember thousands of pieces of data in his mind. Moreover, there were many pieces of data that were useless, because there was only one way to escape. The only use of these pieces of data was to eliminate. When he walked 500 meters, Yang Dingtian's brain finally completely collapsed. All the recorded data was suddenly a mess, and all the logical relationships were suddenly completely messed up. His third attempt was a complete failure, but this time, he found 10% of the correct path. Yang Dingtian had more or less grasped the entire game's door-knocking and began his fourth attempt. However, on the fourth try, when he had just walked less than 15 meters, the entire palace shook. The ground suddenly split open, and then a huge demon crawled out of the ground and began to destroy everything. The incomparably magnificent palace and the incomparably thick golden pillars were all vulnerable under the demon's sharp claws. Soon, everything in the palace was destroyed, including Yang Dingtian, who was directly killed by a ball of flame spat out by the demon. Ah! In the incomparable burning pain, Yang Dingtian suddenly woke up. After waking up, he realized that everything just now was fake, and that he was in the void illusion. Suddenly, there was a burst of lingering fear. The illusion in this mind scroll was too real. Then, he could not help but feel annoyed. After 4 hours in the mind world, he had only completed 10% of the escape from the maze, and this was only the first level of the scroll. Master, I've only completed 10%, this plane is too difficult. Yang Dingtian said. Dongfang Minmi suddenly laughed and said, 10% is not satisfied, it's already very strong to have this result in your first meditation trial. Others start the trial from the first grade scroll illusion, whether it's a chess game or a maze, it's much simpler and smaller. Your 6th grade scroll starts with a maze of thousands of acres, involving tens of thousands of numbers, of course it's difficult. Then, Dongfang Minmi said, and escaping the maze is not the goal, the progress of the spiritual power in the trial is the goal. Don't look at the failure of your trial mission, your spiritual power has increased a lot. If you don't believe me, try again with your mystical skill attack. It's effective just like that. Yang Dingtian said in surprise. Of course, the effect is very obvious for the first time. Dongfang Minmi said. Suddenly, Yang Dingtian couldn't wait to paddle out of the water, and then began to condense his mystical qi, began to control the circulation of his mystical qi, and began to brew. Mountain split. This time, it only took 12 seconds for the condensation to be completed, and then a powerful energy burst out. Bang! A bolt of lightning struck out from Yang Dingtian's palm. It was 3 inches long, and it fiercely struck the water-stained boulder in front of him. Boom! A deep scorched crack was cleaved into the massive boulder. It was approximately 5 inches deep and 2 feet long. Then, young Ding Tian quickly felt the mystical qi in his body, and there was still 1/3 of his mystical qi left. This mind scroll was really powerful. After the first meditation trial, his spiritual power had greatly increased. His thunder attribute mystical skill, Mountain Split, was 20% faster than the first time, and its power increased by 1/3, and the consumption of mystical qi was also reduced by 1/3. Young Ding Tian was pleasantly surprised. Then, he couldn't wait to dive to the bottom of the lake and start the second meditation trial. Just like before, he fled from the first floor of the underground palace. All the situations were exactly the same as the first time, but the deceptive thing was that the palace's maze had changed, the path had changed, and the palace's rooms had also changed. In other words, the memory and experience of the last time were completely invalid, and he needed to completely start from scratch. He needed to completely rely on his own spiritual power to completely escape the first floor of the maze. Thus, young Ding Tian began to struggle to escape the maze, and began to remember the data, analyze the data, and calculate the data. However, with the experience of the last time, although the maze had completely changed, young Ding Tian still walked out 700 meters, and from more than 3,000 data, he calculated 15% of the correct path. But then, young Ding Tian's brain really couldn't record more data, and really couldn't carry out such complicated calculations. His whole brain seemed to be completely split open. In fact, even a peerless genius couldn't remember thousands of data at the same time, and carry out thousands of complicated calculations. At this time, a strong perception was needed to find the pattern inside, so that the number of calculations would be greatly reduced, and there was no need to remember such tedious data. Finally, after the first failure, young Ding Tian began the second attempt of the second trial, as if he slowly found a pattern, and then carried out a more refined calculation. In this way, it was really unusual. Young Ding Tian walked out 950 meters, completing 23% of the correct path. But then, this pattern began to lose effect, and young Ding Tian's trial failed again. Just as young Ding Tian was about to start again, that terrifying giant demon appeared again, destroyed the illusion, burned young Ding Tian, and directly awakened young Ding Tian to the real world. After young Ding Tian woke up, he directly floated to the surface of the water, and began the second profound qi breathing. After a few hours, his sea of qi and profound veins were filled with battle profound qi with impurities. Then, young Ding Tian began to test the new Mountain Split profound skill. 9 seconds, this time he only needed 9 seconds, and young Ding Tian was able to brew Mountain Split. Pa! A half-foot thick blue lightning suddenly struck out, and ruthlessly struck that huge rock. Suddenly, an 8-inch deep, 3-foot-long crack appeared on the huge rock. And this time, after young Ding Tian used Mountain Split, he still had 45% of his profound qi left. Chapter 178. After the second spiritual trial, young Ding Tian's profound skill had indeed improved again, and the improvement was still very large. On the basis of the previous improvement, the channeling time had increased by another 3 seconds. The power of the lightning had also increased by 30 to 40%, and the consumption of profound qi had increased from 2/3 to the current 55%. This spiritual trial was indeed very powerful and effective. No wonder so many people meditated all day long, and even forgot to cultivate martial skills. Because after meditating, the improvement of profound skill was simply too obvious. Immediately, young Ding Tian could not help but ask, "Master, how is my spiritual talent?" Dongfang Minmi did not directly answer, but said, "Little Tian, 80% of spiritual talent has nothing to do with profound vein talent. Only when it comes to spiritual profound skill, will it be related to profound vein talent. A person without the strength to truss a chicken, is very likely to have very high spiritual talent. Therefore, all the beast speakers in this world have very high spiritual talent. In fact, all the spiritual masters in this world have very average profound vain talent. Although Master did not say it out loud, Yang Dingtian already understood his master's meaning. Don't have high expectations for your spiritual talent just because you have 9 yang profound veins. Spiritual talent, to put it bluntly, is relying on the brain. Of course, the brain here does not completely refer to intelligence and intelligence. There are many mental patients who might also have very high spiritual talent. Your profound vein talent is 1 in a billion. Your spiritual talent is also one of the best, and can probably be ranked in the top 3% of all the people in the world. Dongfang Minmi said. Being in the top 3% already sounds very awesome. But in reality, it means that there are at least 100 million people in this world with spiritual talent that surpasses Yang Dingtian. However, Yang Dingtian is not vexed. Being in the top 3% is already very good. He can't ask the heavens to give him the 1 in a billion 9 yang profound veins, and also give him the 1 in a billion spiritual talent. Don't worry, as long as you don't want to become a spiritual master, your spiritual talent is more than enough. In the early stages, mental strength is very important for increasing the power of mystical skills. However, towards the end, it is almost completely difficult to improve. Even if one's mental strength doubles, the power of mystical skills may not even increase by 1%. Therefore, other than mental strength masters, almost no one would be addicted to training their mental strength. If you have enough, you have to grasp a good balance. Dongfang Minmi said. I understand. I don't have to fight for first place in everything. I have to win everything, Yang Dingtian said. It's good that you understand these things. These things are also very important, Dongfang Minmi said. This time, Yang Dingtian did not immediately dive into the water to undergo the spiritual trial, even though this trial was like a very fun game. He began to practice his martial arts as usual. He practiced the pig-slaying swordsmanship for a total of 6 hours before the sun set again. Today, there were still no ships on the sea. After the sky darkened, Yang Dingtian once again dived into the water to conduct his spiritual trial. 2 hours in the real world, 4 hours in the spiritual illusion realm. This time, after 2 hours, Yang Dingtian completed a third of the maze. This was because he discovered the second calculation law. However, after passing a third of the correct path, this law failed again. Yang Dingtian had to search for the third law in the vast amount of data. After being roasted awake by the giant demon's flames, he did not immediately surface to test the mountain split. Instead, he practiced for a while before entering the spiritual trial again. This time, after 2 hours, Yang Dingtian finally discovered the third law of the maze. This time, he completed half of the maze. Unfortunately, after passing half of the maze, Yang Dingtian's third law failed again. After waking up this time, he rested for a while before Yang Dingtian entered the spiritual trial again. This was the third spiritual trial of the day. This time, Yang Dingtian found the fourth law of the maze. However, he found that the path was still wrong. Therefore, this time, he could not pass half of the path no matter what. It was not until he was about to leave the spiritual illusion realm that Yang Dingtian discovered the fifth law. Moreover, he had to combine the 2 laws together. However, there was not enough time. He was quickly kicked out of the spiritual illusion realm. This time, without rest, Yang Dingtian directly entered the fourth spiritual trial. For the fourth time, Yang Dingtian's luck exploded. After completing 60% of the path, he actually concluded the 6th law. Then, combined with the 5th and 4th laws, he directly completed 80% of the path. In other words, there was still 20% left before Yang Dingtian completely completed the first level of the spiritual scroll. When he woke up from the 4th spiritual trial, it was dawn. Yang Dingtian just happened to be doing the profound breathing technique. After a few hours of breathing, Yang Dingtian's Xian meridians and Sea of Qi were once again filled with battle Xian Qi. Then, he started a new mountain split test. This time, I completed 80% of the spiritual trial. I hope the improvement of mountain split is as great. Yang Dingtian secretly said in his heart. Then, he slowly closed his eyes and began to accumulate Xian Qi, organizing the mysterious lightning attribute Xian skill. Pa! A bolt of lightning suddenly struck out from the center of his palm. It actually only needed 3 seconds to directly launch an attack. Last time, it still needed 9 seconds. This time, it only needed 3 seconds. Yang Dingtian was immediately overjoyed at this turn of events. Moreover, the lightning this time was actually more than a foot thick. It was nearly twice as thick as the previous time. And that huge rock had a crack that was more than a foot deep and 5 feet long. In other words, the power of mountain split had increased by a full fold. Finally, looking at the amount of Xian Qi consumed, Yang Dingtian was pleasantly surprised to find that there was still 80% of Xian Qi left. In other words, the Xian Qi in Yang Dingtian's body was now enough to support the attack of mountain split 5 times. One must know that at the beginning, he could only support 1 time. Moreover, the power was not even a fraction of the current power. After going through the spiritual trial, the effect of increasing the power of the Xian skill was simply too great. Next, Yang Dingtian once again entered the cultivation of the Xian skill. After a full 8 hours of cultivation, the remaining Xian Qi in his body was completely exhausted. When the sky turned dark, he once again entered the bottom of the water and went through the spiritual trial. Tonight, Yang Dingtian was confident that he could completely escape the maze and complete the first level of the scroll's spiritual trial. However, the result was obviously more difficult than Yang Dingtian imagined. In the beginning, Yang Dingtian very smoothly completed 95% of the route. Moreover, it only took him half an hour. But for the next 5%, he was unable to complete it. The second time, he was still stuck at 95% of the route. The third time, he was still stuck at 95% of the route. For the remaining 5% of the route, Yang Dingtian practically looked for every method, tried every possibility, and eliminated all the wrong paths. However, he actually could not find a correct path. Thus, Yang Dingtian suddenly had a crazy idea. Could it be that his direction was wrong from the start? This 95% correct path was originally a trap. All the previous laws were also completely traps. Thus, during the fourth spiritual trial, Yang Dingtian decided to abandon the 95% of the route that he had previously completed, and chose to completely start from scratch. The laws that he had previously spent countless time searching for were also completely abandoned. Everything was starting from scratch. This required courage and conviction. However, Yang Dingtian did not lack these. In the illusory realm of the trial, there was a total of 4 hours of trial time. After a full 3 hours, Yang Dingtian was still like a headless fly. He could not even find 1% of the correct path, nor did he discover any pattern. Just as he was about to completely give up hope, he suddenly discovered a new law. Then, he quickly found the first 10% of the route. He did not turn back to the starting point. Furthermore, this route was completely different from the 95% of the route that he had previously completed. Following that, it was 20%, 30%, 40%. In the last hour, Yang Dingtian's exploration speed was astonishingly fast. It was completely unprecedented. When there were only 5 minutes left, Yang Dingtian had already walked 95% of this path. There was still 5% left before he could leave this maze. He had to complete the first layer of this scroll to cultivate his spirit. Only then would he be able to see what the second layer of the illusion realm was like. Suddenly, Yang Dingtian's heart was nervous. He was afraid that it would be the same as before. The remaining 5% of the route could not be found. This was another trap route. In the end, Yang Dingtian worried too much. The remaining 5% was still very smooth. It was just a little stuck for a while, and then it immediately became clear. When there was only 1 second left, Yang Dingtian had already seen the exit. It was a large golden door with a snow-white light shining outside. Finally completed. Yang Dingtian suddenly cheered in his heart, and then rushed out. Swish! A white light appeared in front of him, and the scene suddenly changed. He walked out of the first layer of the underground palace, and completed the first layer of the bewitching scroll. Then, the scene of the second layer of the illusory realm immediately appeared in front of him. But at this moment, the time of the secret realm was up, and it directly pulled Yang Dingtian back to the real world. Yang Dingtian opened his eyes. At this moment, the sky was already bright. Just nice, I'm going to do mystic breathing, and then try mountain split again to see how big of a breakthrough there is. Yang Dingtian's heart was filled with anticipation. The results of the previous spiritual cultivation were really plentiful. It completely allowed his lightning-type mystic skills to advance by leaps and bounds. This time, he directly completed the first layer of the secret realm cultivation, and was instantly filled with anticipation for the breakthrough of his mystic skills. But immediately after, he discovered that there was a strange sound in the pool that had been quiet all this time. He could not help but raise his head. Instantly, an incomparably moving scene was imprinted in his eyes, and he was caught off guard. At this moment, there was actually a woman swimming in the water above him. Although he could not see her face clearly, her figure was shockingly good. She was completely like a mermaid, and her legs were shockingly long. Note: please give me a few monthly tickets. Chapter 179. Of course, she was wearing a skin-tight swimsuit, so it couldn't be considered a serious indecent act. She was very good at swimming, just like a fish, full of vitality and strength in the water. It was truly rare for Yang Dingtian to see such a vigorous and beautiful figure. It was truly like a mermaid. Yang Dingtian didn't look at her, quickly lowered his head, avoiding her gaze. Then, he continued to hide at the bottom of the water. If he went out now, he wouldn't be able to explain himself clearly. It was better to wait until this woman finished swimming and left before going out. Someone actually came to this island. This was good news after all. If someone came, it meant that there was a boat. If there was a boat, it meant that Yang Dingtian could leave this island. But after that, this woman actually swam endlessly. Yang Dingtian couldn't help but feel anxious. This was nothing, but the worst thing was that this woman actually started to dive. Yang Dingtian couldn't help but be anxious. He could only pray that this woman wouldn't sneak to his side and discover him. But things didn't go as he wished. The woman quickly dived to the deepest part and then discovered Yang Dingtian at the bottom of the water. She was first shocked, then revealed a look of shame and anger. Then, like a fish, she quickly swam up and quickly went ashore, disappearing from Yang Dingtian's sight. Yang Dingtian didn't immediately go up, because he wanted to give the woman enough time. After waiting for a full 10 minutes, Yang Dingtian felt that the woman above should be all right, and then he swam up with all his might. When he just surfaced, he immediately saw the woman holding a sharp sword in her hand, standing on the shore and suddenly stabbing at Yang Dingtian. "Thief, watch my sword." It turned out that this woman had been guarding the shore with a sword, waiting for Yang Dingtian to show his head. This sword stab was ruthless and sharp, directly stabbing at Yang Dingtian's chest. Yang Dingtian used his fingers as a sword, directly clamping the blade of the sword, and then directly borrowing the force, he jumped out of the water and jumped onto the shore. "Thief, die." The woman was still unwilling to let him go, and the sharp sword in her hand pierced towards him again. Yang Dingtian might have exhausted all his mystic chi, but in terms of swordsmanship attainment, he had cultivated the world's #1 pig-slaying sword art. Therefore, he could easily restrain this young lady's sword. His right hand struck out like a bolt of lightning, once again catching the girl's sharp blade. Then, he seized the opportunity to snatch the sword from her hand. Miss, please clarify something first. I was the one who started the spiritual trial underwater. I don't even know when you came to swim, so what reason do you have to stab me with your sword indiscriminately? Yang Dingtian said. You noticed me, so why didn't you show yourself? Instead, you dived into the water. You clearly have bad intentions. That woman said angrily. I was just afraid that you would feel awkward if I showed up, so I wanted to wait until you left before I came out of the water. Who knew that you would swim endlessly? Yang Dingtian said. Do you think I'll believe you? That woman said, who knows what kind of dirty thoughts you had when you dived into the water. Maybe you wanted to wait for me to change my clothes. Yang Dingtian suddenly smiled bitterly. He really didn't know how to explain himself. He could only helplessly say, then I swear, if I lie, may the heavens punish me. That girl looked deeply at Yang Dingtian for a long time, then stretched out her hand and said, give me back my sword. Yang Dingtian was slightly stunned. Just let it go. So easy to talk to. Yang Dingtian returned the sword to her. He didn't know if she believed Yang Dingtian's words, or if there was no other way, or if she was a generous and straightforward woman, so she really let it go. At this time, Yang Dingtian noticed the woman's appearance. It was a rare beautiful woman. Her eyes were big, slightly raised, and full of spirit. Her oval face was very small, her lips were very delicate, and her nose was very high. She looked like a very opinionated woman with a strong personality. However, at this time, there was a slight trace of wind and frost on her face, as if she had been working hard for a long time. What are you doing on this island alone? The woman looked at Yang Dingtian and asked. My boat was destroyed. I can't leave. Yang Dingtian, so, I have been waiting here for a boat to pass by. It has been more than 10 days. You are the first person I have seen on this island. Do you have a boat? Of course. The woman said, my boat just happened to pass by here. I felt uncomfortable. I knew there was a clear pool here, so I came to swim. Who knew you would be here? I'm sorry, I really didn't mean to. Yang Dingtian said embarrassedly. It's okay, I'm just unlucky. The woman said and waved her hand. She was very straightforward. Yang Dingtian didn't like this sentence. What did she mean by she was unlucky? He was clearly in the pool first. Moreover, she was wearing a diving suit at that time. Her entire body was wrapped up tightly. She didn't suffer any losses. However, the woman before him was already very reasonable. Therefore, Yang Dingtian didn't say anything. He then asked, can I leave on your boat? You just have to send me to the northwest continent. I can pay you. The woman frowned and said, I can let you leave on my boat. It's just on the way. What do you want? Yang Dingtian. It's nothing. The woman said, I'm Ling Wu. What about you? Yan Nantian. Yang Dingtian. Then come with me. Ling Wu said, however, my boat will reach Sky Blaze Island. That's my home. It's still 400 miles away from the northwest continent. However, when the time comes, I can send a boat to send you to the northwest continent. I'm very grateful. Yang Dingtian said. It's nothing. Ling Wu said, however, you'll have to wait for a while. My boat needs to replenish its freshwater on this island. I also need to clean up the sundries on the boat. It will take about 2 hours. All right. Thank you, Mississippi, Yang Dingtian said. Why do you have so many thanks? You're really boring. Ling Wu said. Yang Dingtian smiled embarrassedly. He just happened to take advantage of this period of time to do mystic qi breathing. Then, I won't disturb Mississippi, Yang Dingtian said. After that, he walked to a remote corner and sat down. He closed his eyes and adjusted his breathing. After 2 hours, Yang Dingtian managed to fill more than half of his energy reserve with battle mystic chi with great difficulty. Hey, Yan Nantian. It's time to go. Ling Wu shouted from outside. All right. Yang Dingtian stood up and walked out. At this moment, Ling Wu had already changed her clothes. She wore a cautious sharkskin diving suit inside and a tight suit outside. She looked even more charming and charming. At this moment, Yang Dingtian finally paid attention to her face. She was actually very charming and gorgeous. Her eyes were very big, and her beautiful face looked somewhat shrewish. She appeared very powerful. Yang Dingtian followed behind her and arrived at the seaside. The ship she was talking about was actually a big ship. It was several tens of meters long and 7 to 8 meters tall. There were close to 100 people on board. At this moment, the ship was filled with all kinds of goods. It was very obvious that this ship was a trading ship. Miss, greetings, miss, greetings, miss. When they boarded the ship, everyone stopped what they were doing wherever Ling Wu passed by. They saluted and greeted her one after another with respectful expressions. Moreover, it was from the bottom of their hearts. It seemed like Ling Wu had a lot of prestige and support on this ship. After boarding the ship, Ling Wu brought Yang Dingtian to a comfortable cabin and said, "You can stay here. Someone will send you food and water. When you're bored, you can also go to the deck to relieve your boredom. I still have things to do, so I won't entertain you. Miss, please do as you please," Yang Dingtian said. After Ling Wu left, Yang Dingtian discovered that there was actually a fragrance in this cabin. When he looked at the things inside, all of them were for women. This cabin was so comfortable. It should be Ling Wu's cabin. Yang Dingtian's heart immediately warmed up. This woman looked shrewish. Moreover, her words weren't very polite. However, her heart was indeed very warm. She and Yang Dingtian were complete strangers. Yet, she actually gave her cabin to Yang Dingtian. Some people were indeed born warm-hearted. Even if they were to entertain strangers, they would still take out their best things. Not long after Ling Wu left, a girl came to deliver top-notch fruits, snacks, and fragrant tea. "Sir, please enjoy your meal. When it's time for lunch, I'll send the food over. Do you want to drink wine?" After that girl put down the fruits and snacks, she asked respectfully. "I don't need any wine." Yang Dingtian said, "Please thank your lady for me. Also, thank you for sending me these things. You've worked hard." That girl's face turned slightly red and said, "You're welcome. You're too courteous." After that, she lowered her head and left the cabin. After Yang Dingtian stayed in the cabin for a while, he felt bored. Moreover, this place wasn't suitable for him to conduct a spiritual trial, nor was it suitable for him to cultivate profound skills. In that case, he might as well steal half a day of leisure. Yang Dingtian left the cabin and walked to the deck. Part of this ship's movement relied on the sails, while the other part relied on the paddles. Therefore, there weren't many people on the deck. He could only see a slender and moving figure standing at the bow of the ship and gazing into the distance. Her gorgeous face carried a faint melancholy. However, when she sensed someone walking over, the melancholy on her face immediately faded away. When she turned around and saw that it was Yang Dingtian, she immediately nodded her head and didn't say anything. Since their friendship was still shallow, Yang Dingtian naturally wouldn't ask her what she was worried about. "Miss, this ship is used for trading?" Yang Dingtian asked. Ling Wu nodded her head and said, "For generations, our infernal island has been trading ships for a living. It must be very hard, right?" Yang Dingtian couldn't help but ask when he saw that Ling Wu's tender and beautiful face was rather weathered. "In this world, what isn't hard to do?" Ling Wu said, as long as we can be safe and sound, it's already a blessing from the heavens. That's right. Yang Dingtian sighed. Yan Nantian, if I'm not presumptuous, what do you do? Ling Wu asked. Me? Yang Dingtian thought for a while and said, I'm a person who wastes my life for a certain mission. Who isn't like that? Ling Wu said, I'm a woman. I can't learn embroidery and make clothes at home. Instead, I have to wander about on the sea. Trading ships is so hard, especially for a woman. Why doesn't Miss Ling hand it over to someone else? Yang Dingtian asked. Ling Wu shook her head and said, I don't have any brothers. Father only has me as his child. Currently, he's seriously injured and bedridden. There are thousands of people on the island who need to eat. Therefore, I can only shoulder this heavy burden. Miss Ling is really amazing. Yang Dingtian said, it's a pity that I'm like a clay bodhisattva crossing a river. Otherwise, I'd definitely lend a hand. It's already very good to be able to talk to you and relieve my worries. Ling Wu smiled and said, right now, I just want to find a shoulder that's strong enough for me to lean on. After that, I'll hand this heavy burden over to him so that I can do the laundry and cook at home and live the peaceful life of an ordinary woman. When talking about this topic, Ling Wu still had a generous look on her face without the slightest bit of bashfulness. Actually, when she said these words to Yang Dingtian, she didn't have any romantic intentions. She was just a tired woman who wanted to find someone to lean on. Miss Ling is so outstanding. You'll definitely find an outstanding husband. Yang Dingtian said. Thanks for your auspicious words. I hope that person will come before me soon, so that I won't have to work so hard. Ling Wu said, I've long been tired of the life of drifting on the sea. I've long wanted to stay at home and take care of my husband and children. Miss, there's an enemy. Suddenly, the lookout who was standing on the sails shouted loudly. Ling Wu's expression changed as she said, who is it? How many people are there? It's the Black Blood Pirates under the command of that bastard Yang Dingtian. They have 3 ships and approximately 100 people. That lookout said. Damned Cloud Heaven City and even more damned Yang Dingtian. Ling Wu gnashed her teeth and said fiercely, note, requesting for a few monthly votes. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.